Right. Okay. So, theory, it should be working again now.
Okay.
Just gotta sort of wait and see if it does work.
Bubble Boy says you're a damn boomer in the box.
I am a damn boomer in the box. Yes. I don't know what happened. To be honest, I think Streamlabs crashed. So we may have like much fewer viewers now, but
I don't know if we're. I don't even know if we're streaming now, mate.
no, we are.
Are we?
Yeah, we are. I've just set up a new link. I'm just going to put it into the Discord thing now.
Nothing's playing for me.
No, because are you still looking at the old link?
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah, so that'll probably be it. With me. Yeah, I'm just going to put a thing in the announcements channel. Hang on. Okay, right, there you go. Apologies, everyone. Streamlabs crashed, and yeah, it just fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just. Bear with me. I'm just getting the link set up and everything.
That's fair. That's cool.
I mean, do fill the dead air.
Okay, right. Sorry. I just thought it would be interesting to mention. So we've got. You might be thinking, but won't deduction cause speculation? This is obviously with regards to creating mystery within a story. And Smudboy says, so it will break Rule 6, but in some cases, that's the point. So Smudboy is actively advocating for breaking his own rules after saying he can't think of any possible reason in why
they would be broken.
So he's just a bit of a silly boy. So I'm just putting the thing on Twitter as well. Okay, right. So basically, we're essentially just going to like steamroll through the rest of the book, to be honest with you, because there's not really much left to say. So we're going to plot. We know what plot is. We don't really need to discuss that, but there is an interesting metaphor for us to discuss, which is it is the fuel and scaffolding for your rocket ship, the potential for your voyage, where it's heading, and the excitement that comes with the next page.
Okay.
So plot is the fuel and scaffolding for the rocket ship.
Of course it is. Yes. And the rocket ship. And what is the rocket ship in this instance? The story?
I don't know. He hasn't. Yes, I believe so. Actually. So now, remember how at the beginning we were speculating about a lot of very weird metaphors he was using with regards to the beast with two backs or the two-spined creature?
Yes, he said that. What was it? Plot is the double-spined beast of your creation, or some such rot.
Yes. So here we've got think of it being plot. Like the skeleton of a creature you're about to create. So as if we're God or Dr. Frankenstein, I imagine. The spine, which is the plot, hangs from the ceiling like a resurrected dinosaur at a museum. It has a head, a spinal column, and a tail. The head possesses the ideal premise or thrust of the story, along with the main reason the story is taking place. The spine, with each vertebra, are the various twists and turns the story goes, each plot point marked by a pin. The tail, the inevitable end and goal of the plot, is where the objective is found, and the resolution of the plot is revealed.
Sorry, I'm still confused by the resurrected dinosaur at the museum.
Yeah, so essentially we've got a dinosaur skeleton, and creating
it's
a story.
Resurrected though, so it's alive.
Yeah, so the idea of a story is to put flesh on the dinosaur, like some kind of weird wizard, where we're sort of slowly bringing it to life by kind of like sort of creating meat on the dinosaur bones.
I do know. I know what he means, because I've often thought that writing fiction is like generating dinosaur meat. The chat are loving this. Neff says, as far as I'm aware, museums don't actually resurrect dinosaurs. Bubble Boy says, Smudboy needs to retake Analogy 101. Yeah, I think he needs to take Analogy 101, to be honest.
That's true. He's not very good at it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to address Pike L. I disagree with the adage of keep politics out of our media, but I do think that newer works are less subtle when it comes to making political messages. How can this issue be addressed? It's an interesting point. Maybe a topic for a later stream or a later video, but like, I certainly think there's a lot of. I don't want to say. I'm trying not to say virtue signaling. I think there's a lot of kind of fake wokeness in a lot of media, and like some of that is what these people are picking up on. But the problem is they see it as like any kind of leftist political message is wrong, right? Whereas I think in a lot of cases it's more a thing of like, but why is this piece of media making this point in such an unsubtle way? You know what I mean?
And the thing
like
is that I wouldn't necessarily say that modern media is any less political than previously. And hi Lex, by the way. No, but because I did sort of make a video about this, but even going back hundreds of years, we did have media that was intensely political. Like Dante's Inferno is obviously like one of the main ones.
Yes. To be clear, I 100% agree with Celestial's sitcom. POC and LGBT and women simply existing is not political and not woke. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. To be clear, I'm not advocating, like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like there's a lot of stuff that I've watched recently anyway, particularly comedy shows I've noticed, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine does this a lot, where they'll practically have a character turn to the camera almost and be like, men are garbage and feminism good, and it's like,
it's just it's performative wokeness. There's no actual like understanding or sort of real...
exactly. It's not about POC and LGBT being in media, because they absolutely should be, of course. It's more about that kind of delivery system of like just like practically turning to the camera and being like, hey, we're woke, like us. You know?
It's basically that. Yeah.
And like these issues, like what we've kind of stumbled into there is like these issues are kind of like, they're actually quite subtle and hard to discuss in terms of media and how it represents certain things. So it requires a certain amount of subtlety and a lightness of touch. Which obviously Smudboy and Mauler and that lot don't really possess.
Yeah, so I agree with Celestial's sitcom there. So anytime people complain about media being too political, they almost always are annoyed that like there's a black person in the movie.
Yeah, that tends to be what the complaint is, right?
Yeah, it's very much that like The Quartering is famous for doing that. And for every time there's a gay person in a movie or something saying that it's like pushing a leftist message into media and all sorts of things. Yeah,
but it's okay because The Quartering has 3 black dads.
I think he did say he has 3 black dads at some point. Yeah. Oh god, this is too political. I'm going to go back to my old favourites, RoboCop and Watchmen.
Yes, exactly. And this is kind of an issue that we've discussed with Smudboy, right? It's like he just refuses to acknowledge the politics and the stuff that he enjoys or has nostalgia for. Yeah, Star Wars being an obvious example.
So with Watchmen and like The West Wing, as we spoke about earlier, he did specifically say that he doesn't believe that they're political. They just happen to have politics in, but they're not political. Because
what does that even mean? Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, it's the Sainsbury's Christmas ad debate again. It's just like people of minority groups appearing in media isn't political unless you think that they shouldn't be. In which case, that's on you, right?
Well, it's like we've said before, right? It's like they seem to think there's 2 kinds of people: political and apolitical. And anyone who isn't a straight white man is political.
Yeah, because obviously straight white men are the default, and anything other than that is a conscious choice to erase white men from media or whatever bullshit they believe in.
I like Riot Fox in the chat saying, I listened to Rage Against the Machine until I found out they are political, so I'm just going to listen to Dead Kennedys instead. Legit how these people think, though,
Yeah, no, I agree. These people are just complete clowns. It's just that why...
And I think it probably comes from like a fairly middle class, and it's always white, and it's usually male. It comes from that kind of like middle class mentality of like, because I'm not affected by these issues, I don't need to think about them. And I think that extends to the media that they consume as well. Where like, I think maybe people who are more conscious of it for whatever reason, whether it's because these issues apply directly to them or because they're empathetic human beings, you kind of go like, do you know what I mean? It's like they almost deliberately tune this stuff out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's very well, even something like Shakespeare, that's inherently political a lot of the time because it was specifically about political figures and politics, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it is just very strange to. And I think the stream that I watched the first 40 minutes of to get clips for that video I did the other day, I think it was particularly interesting because you've got someone like Literature Devil who's really into his comic books, who was arguing that comic books weren't political before, but they are now, which was the point of the video they were reacting to.
And to be clear, they were talking about Captain America comics where Captain America punches Nazis.
Yeah, and it's just but nowadays they're inherently political.
To be clear, the Captain America was explicitly invented to be pro-America propaganda, or pro-allies propaganda. That was the entire point of the character. He was invented in World War II, and it was supposed to be something that kids could read and go, hell yeah, punch a Nazi,
And he's called Captain America and has the American flag all over him,
And all his enemies are KKK Nazi weirdos.
Yeah.
It couldn't be more political if you tried. But apparently that's just normal, right? There's no politics there.
Yeah, it's very strange. But anyway, returning to the book. So we've got our now fleshy dinosaur that we've added meat onto.
It's fucking Jurassic Park.
Yeah, So we've got logic and reason, which is obviously the right's favourite two concepts, are the connective tissue of plot, the discs of the vertebrae that allow it to bend within reason. If you don't have that flexibility, you've got a story with no twists and turns and very few plot points.
God, what a fool.
The thing is that he's very committed to these really weird sort of metaphors and comparisons that don't really work at all, but he's sort of committed to them, so he sort of tries and forces them to work, and it just doesn't work at all. So we've skipped ahead a few pages because again this chapter is just we're skipping to the more interesting bits because most of this book after the rules section is just boring drivel, to be perfectly honest with you.
So I do just want to shout out Celestial Sitcom again in the chat. It reminds me of Innuendo Studios video where they say Nazis are bad, is apolitical. Yeah, I think that's kind of where these people are coming from, is they see Nazis bad as that's not a political statement in and of itself, which is interesting because the Nazis are were a political group. It's as much as I think the problem is these are people who don't know a lot about politics and history, so they kind of see the Nazis as literally the evil empire that rose up from nowhere and had a Death Star or whatever.
Oh, and
they don't see it as they are the result of a political situation that eventually manifested into the Nazis.
Oh, I just wanted to say, by the way, Bubble Boy in chat, earlier in this book, he did specifically say that you should present your plot as a formal argument and quoted Aristotle's forms of argument, I believe. So
don't worry about
that's
that.
A joke, but he does do that.
Debate me in the arena of imagination.
We skipped a few pages ahead, but sticking with this dinosaur skeleton, somehow we're 5 pages from where we were just a minute ago. In the dinosaur skeleton analogy, plot points are the pins that hold the story, yes, the story through the plot, together, and point it into a new direction. And then he sort of skips from dinosaurs to mountain valleys, and again there's a typo here where he's put Ulk, L-L-K-E, or L sort of capital I-K-E, which again, earlier, just a reminder, earlier he did say that any grammatical errors seriously bring down the quality of your work. So like the twisting valleys of a mountain, the overarching plot goal or peak remains, and these points are gateways to that goal. Plots and stories are rarely straight lines and have many twists and turns as new information becomes revealed.
So I will acknowledge that in a minute, but I just want to shout out Pike Earl in the chat saying their knowledge of Nazism is based on History Channel documentaries. I think that's giving them too much credit. I think their knowledge of Nazism is based on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That famous documentary.
Yeah. Bubble Boy says, "Debate me in the Colosseum of creativity."
That does sound like something they'd say.
Yes. Sorry, you were saying. It's not that I don't love your speaking voice, Matt. It's pleasant to the ear, but it's just these words, Smudboy words, have been. We've paid him to. You know what? I'm sick of him. I'm sick of the book. I'm sick of this nonsense that he's talking. Like in the dinosaur skeleton analogy, they're the pins that hold the story. Yes, the story through the plot. First of all, is there a difference, a quantifiable difference between story and plot?
Yes, I believe earlier in this chapter it does say that there is a difference. Hang on, I'm just trying to. So, story is a series of events, and plot is a series of events with motivation.
Right. Okay. Sure. Point it in a new direction, like the twisting valleys of a mountain. The overreaching plot goal, or peak, oh god, he's on about the plot goal again, or peak remains, and these points are gateways to the goal. Plots and stories are rarely straight lines and have many twists. Yeah. So I mean, again, it's this. The actual advice he's giving is very, very basic writing 101, but the fact that he kind of obfuscates it with all this drivel about dinosaur skeletons and fucking putting the meat on the bone of the dinosaur that we've resurrected.
I guess
because apparently we're Richard Attenborough in fucking Jurassic Park, and we're just bringing dinosaurs back to life. But don't worry, these dinosaurs are just a metaphor for books.
I just love that it's like that halfway through the metaphor, he stops talking about dinosaurs and goes on to like fucking the twisting valleys of a mountain within the same sort of paragraph. It's like, well,
yes, I don't know what's hard for you to I don't know what's hard for you to understand, Matt. A dinosaur spine is like the twisting valleys of a mountain, but the dinosaur in this case is a metaphor for story. So what's complicated about that?
This is so dumb.
Straight as a line, that advice. That's writing advice that you can hang your hat on. That is, set your watch to it.
It's just, yeah, so skipping ahead.
Sorry, I feel like I'm yelling a lot this time.
No, that's right. So skipping ahead a lot. So
I'm drunk and Larry.
Fair enough. So at this point in the book, Smudboy's gone full pretentious, and has now started just creating...
Sorry, he was pretentious when he was going on about your muse may visit you at midnight and give you a crafty hand, Jay, or whatever that was.
Yeah, that's true. So, but now he is actively creating weird graphs and equations for plot. So he's got story timeline, C1 plot, C3 plot, it's just C2 subplot. Like, this is like...
Oh, I forgot about the fucking graphs.
Absolutely madness. Just why would you bother...
This is like Jordan Peterson. This is like Maps of Meaning.
Oh god, it is.
Drivel.
So it's, again, the rest of this is just like absolute just shite. So it's just got the plot development is the logical flow of the story from point.
Can I point out for a minute there, here, Sheep? We're supposed to be doing actual analysis of the book. That's what you put in the title. But we've just been going, this is shit on every page.
It is shit. So here we go.
I know, but it's just funny to me that we claimed we were going to do actual analysis, and instead we've just been slagging him off.
Yeah,
standard.
Right, okay,
because we are, as you know, we're uncivilized leftists.
So we've got the chapter. So we've got the character rather. So there's an interesting bit where he's talking about how the attractive character. So when we characterize a character in a story, so when we criticize a character in a story, we do so in a few ways. This is partially done to determine whether we find them attractive or not.
Bubble Boy says, "Is it objectively shit?" Well, I think I said on a previous stream that I was contradicting myself when I was saying that you can't be subjectively good or bad because this is objectively bad, right? But yeah, I mean, I will say this as a piece, as a text that is supposedly giving writing advice to write the objectively perfect story. In that function, it is objectively bad. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. So again, we've got another weird formula. So we've got a formula of attractive characters, which is basically just likability. Which, as he says here, you may call this likability, but the idea of attraction is you can be attracted to things or characters that are both likable and unlikable, good or bad, virtuous or full of vice. So basically, it's just the idea of a relatable character, essentially, or someone that a character we're interested in. So the working formula is plot plus growth plus active plus or minus passive equals attraction.
Yeah.
What is this? So again, we're skipping ahead quite a bit because it's all. So we've got a bit here that I just wanted to talk about, which is just the opposite of a skilled character is the dreaded Mary Sue. One trait of a Mary Sue is that they're mysteriously skilled, if not overpowered, at nearly everything
Mary
without
Sue,
explanation.
Mary Sue, Mary Sue, Mary Sue. We're talking about Mary Sue's. Sorry, go on.
It's just fucking like you can tell whether or not someone is a terminally online internet critic as opposed to someone who actually knows what they're talking about if they start going on about fucking Mary Sue's in their objective film criticism or in their story, in their like book about how to write stories. It's just like this. Yeah. This is just a non thing.
Anyone
honestly.
who thinks Mary Sue is like a proper criticism that you can level at something, I just want you to come here. I want to whisper something in your ear. Fuck off. Like, I'm sick of hearing about Mary Sue's. What you mean is a female character you didn't like. And I know what they're going to say if they listen to this. They're going to go, oh no, but it applies to male characters too. Blah, 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 blah. But no, you only apply it to female characters. That's the thing. First of all, it's supposed to be a fan fiction trope. Like, the Mary Sue is supposed to be a self-insert character who is perfect in all ways, not just a female character who can do stuff, right? Like, it's interesting. They always say, oh, but there's male characters we apply it to. But you never fucking see them apply it to a male character, do you? So it's a load of old shit. What they mean by Mary Sue is, woman I don't like.
Yeah, I'd say that's fairly accurate. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of an outburst on my part. You might be able to tell that I am sick of hearing about that.
Okay, no, that's fair. Me too.
Pykel might be a bit behind us, but does say, I do not like this definition of Mary/Gary Sue. The main point of Mary Sue is that it is an act of self-insert wish fulfillment. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so with regards to this weird sort of idea of attraction and like a likable or character we identify with, he does later go on to say some characters have seemingly no attractive qualities, e.g. J.R.R. Tolkien's Gollum, which I thought was interesting because I do actually quite like.
Yeah, famously a character that no one fucking likes.
Yeah, I do actually quite like Gollum. I think he's like a complex.
Particularly in the movies as well. He's a very sympathetic character.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 100%. I think Gollum, I don't know if he's like one of my favourite characters, but I really do like his little story, especially when they give his backstory at the beginning of, is it Return of the King? They give
they flash in the movies, they flash back to it.
Yeah, so I think honestly, like especially in the movies, he is, I'd say, an attractive character, really, which is, again, he does seem to give the worst possible examples of points he's trying to make.
I would go so far as to say Gollum is one of my favourite characters in Lord of the Rings. But then again, The Two Towers is my favourite Lord of the Rings film, so make of that what you will. Gollum is pretty heavily featured in that movie.
That's fair. My favourite is Fellowship, I think.
That's a strong choice, because that's the more like kind of... I think Fellowship is probably... It depends. If we're talking extended editions, Two Towers definitely wins for me. If we're talking cinematic releases, I might go Fellowship.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fair. Because
I feel like Fellowship is the most concise, whereas the other two kind of need the extended edition to work. So I think... But yeah, I like the Two Towers the best because it's the most depressing, and that's just me. But yeah. Sorry, go on. Well, I've gone off on one about the Two Towers. It's just a good movie. Like, they're all good movies. But I think the Two Towers, the reason I like it the most, first of all, it's got the best battle scene with Helm's Deep. I love that shit.
I do prefer Helm's Deep to Minas Tirith, to be fair.
I like the fact that it genuinely feels like hopeless, because like all the guys on the wall are like old men. Like the battle gets started because one guy is too arthritic to hold his bow tight without firing, right? Like, that's just fucking cool. I like that it focuses on like Gollum and kind of, and also I like that like it kind of is the Dark Night of the Soul for all the characters. Which is just it's personal taste, isn't it? Because to me, Lord of the Rings is all 5 stars. Like, they're all 5-star movies. But the reason I think I like the Fellowship the most, because to me it feels the most soulful, and I really like the sequence of Arwen contemplating the future and seeing her like outliving Aragorn and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just a really beautifully made and edited and shot sequence. I'm doing that thing again, aren't I, where I'm trying to talk about anything other than Smud's book.
I think you are. Yeah, so just before we move on, I just wanted to point out, so this section of this chapter is called the meta-narrative attractive character, and about halfway through the chapter he just gives a Ron Paul quote about the First Amendment.
Isn't Ron Paul, is he like a big libertarian guy?
Yeah, I think he's a big libertarian dude, yeah.
Was he the head of the Libertarian Party for a bit, maybe?
No, I think he's a Republican, isn't he? I don't actually know anything about Ron Paul. I know that he's like a big libertarian hero. They all love
maybe
him.
the chat will correct us, but I feel like Ron Paul was a Republican who went over to the Libertarian side.
Oh, that's possible.
I mean, yeah.
So now we've got this completely nonsensical sort of table that doesn't really seem to mean anything.
Yes, I love the charts. I love the tables. I love the math.
So I just don't understand what it like. So there is a whole distinction between shortcoming and flaw that he goes on about in this, and honestly, it's just pointless. There's no point going into it. Like he does go on. So essentially, he covers the want versus need dichotomy, which is something that does get talked about quite a lot in film theory.
Yeah. And in general, literary theory, I suppose.
Yeah. So, but he does it in such a pretentious way. So it's a shortcoming versus a flaw. So he thinks a flaw is good, and I believe a shortcoming is something that needs to be addressed by the end of the story, but a flaw isn't necessarily.
Sorry, the chat are destroying me with facts and logic. Ron Paul is just a Republican, apparently.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But I know he is well liked by the libertarian.
Yeah. I feel like yeah. Anywho,
yeah.
Go on.
So we're just going to breeze through a lot of this because this chapter is just like fucking just ridiculous. He does say if a singular plot is resolved but a need is not, you have a flat character. If a plot isn't resolved but a need is, you have at least a competent character drama. If neither is resolved, you've butchered a tree, which I just thought was interesting because obviously butchery is usually with regards to meat, and you sort of
yeah, it doesn't really.
Yeah, it's just a terrible thing. And now this is another sort of very strange sort of telling.
Sorry, why is he? Sorry, have I missed something? Have I drank myself into a stupor? Why is he talking about a tree?
Oh, I think it's the joke is, you've wasted your time because it's like a waste of paper.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
So he does later go on to say, I think, again, this is sort of more ideologically indicative of what Smudboy believes, which is if we all knew...
Sorry, can I shout out Bubble Boy? Smudboy discovered the Microsoft Word insert table function about 2 chapters ago, and he can't get enough. Bubble Boy is spot on. That is correct.
Oh,
God. I mean, he is 40, to be fair. He probably doesn't know about insert tables.
That's true. So
we should stop ragging on him for being old, because that's not fair. But
so he does say here, if we all knew our flaws and how to correct them, we'd have become Ubermensch a while ago.
What?
Now, that's quite an interesting term to use there.
Sorry, Matt. The good thing about me getting drunk whilst we're whilst we're streaming all this, is I'm forgetting what I've read. So you're throwing these phrases out like, if we all knew our flaws and how to correct them, we'd have become Ubermensch by now. It's like I'm hearing it for the first time because I've just forgotten what's in this book. But yeah, that's a really interesting turn of phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
First of all, it should be Ubermenschen. If he's using it as a plural. Second of all, what the fuck is he talking about?
Well, I mean, it says if we all knew our flaws and how to correct them, we'd have become Ubermensch. So I guess the idea is that sort of like if a character has a flaw, but it's an easily fixable flaw that they're aware of, they would just like try and fix it. But so it has to be something that they're not aware of, and they have to learn over the course of a story, I guess. But I don't know. I guess the term Ubermensch is very concerning here. Like, I don't want to.
Well, I mean, yes, it is. I was going to try and validate it, but no. Like, I think if anyone other than Smudboy used it, I could see it being a more ironic usage. You know?
Yeah.
So I think he is kind of joking here when he's saying like we'd have become Ubermensch a while ago. But the fact that he believes other stuff that we know he believes. Yeah. And to be fair to Veiny Wombat, a reference to Hitler's theories. No, this is a reference rather than Hitler. And not to defend Nietzsche too much, but he basically went mad from guilt when he found out that Hitler had basically interpreted his theories into the Nazi ideology. So, yeah, I mean, when I hear Ubermensch used in the modern world, I'm kind of like, sounds a bit fash to me. But to be fair, if Smudboy wasn't a complete buffoon, he might be making an analogy to Nietzsche, which doesn't necessarily make you a Nazi.
Yeah, but it does sort of, it does kind of seem that, I don't know, my idea was that he does seem to buy into that kind of interpretation of it. This is my thoughts there, really, right?
And like, I want to be abundantly clear to the chat. I have read Nietzsche, and I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that if you are a Nietzsche follower, you might not necessarily be a Nazi.
Yeah, well, for the benefit, Pykel says it wasn't Ubermensch. Ubermensch is basically just a term that means like the superior man. And is being used by fascists to sort of promote the idea of a master race, essentially.
Yeah, which is not what Nietzsche was necessarily getting at, but
yeah, but it has been interpreted and used that way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm not defending him. Yeah, it's an interesting one because a lot of what Hitler took from Nietzsche was a very specific interpretation, and that kind of is the interpretation that lingers on in the kind of pop culture memory. But anyway, if we talk about Nietzsche, we'll go down a rabbit hole. So
okay, that's fair.
Let's continue talking about Smud.
Okay, so we're talking about character flaws. So essentially we've got...
Although, sorry, pause you there, because I think Bubble Boy has summed it up quite well. He's using Nietzsche for the aesthetics of intellectualism, even though Nietzsche would probably absolutely disagree with his points about objectivity. Very good point. He would, and also, yeah, Smudboy is just using it in the same way he uses Aristotle to be like, I've read books.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah. I've read books. I don't know if I've mentioned it. I've read a book.
I'm a smart boy. So
jerking off into his own mouth again.
We've got stuff about flaws and shortcomings here. So we've got through solving a plot point, flaws can begin to be rebuilt.
Sorry, Veiny Wombat says, sorry, Nietzsche. You don't have to apologise to Nietzsche. Sorry, go on, Matt.
That's it.
I just found that very funny, the idea of kid. Sorry, Nietzsche.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Sorry, lad. Where's my fucking butler gone?
Okay, so we've got having both the flaw fix and the shortcoming fix connects character to their newfound personality, because Smudboy believes that a character at the end of a story should have a different personality to the one at the beginning. And a new solution to the plot goal. And then he goes on about Satori, which is something we mentioned in a previous stream, I believe, which is the moment of enlightenment, the instant a character changes. And then he has this very strange metaphor where he says, think of Satori as the nucleus and climax as the cytoplasm.
Yeah, I don't know what he means by that.
And then later on the same page, he has another metaphor, which is plot is the unpaved, winding road that allows character growth to occur. The lesson, in order to be both surface and personal, must involve the numerous plot points, one for each dilemma.
Have we gone from Nietzsche to the Beatles now? Because he's on about the long and winding road.
I think that's what's happened. Ringo Starr, the famous
Ubermensch.
Famous Ubermensch.
Yeah, who wrote Octopus's Garden.
That's a banger, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, no, it is a banger. Anyway, sorry, go on with the book.
That's right. So we're just sort of skimming it now because, as I said, the rest of this book is basically just drivel, and we're just picking out the fun bits. So we've got please be careful when writing. Sorry.
Before you go on, I want to make you and the chat aware. I'm starting on a new beverage.
Oh yeah.
This is called Old Hooky, and it's by the Hook Norton Brewery apparently, and it says that it's a fruity and full-bodied beer that was handcrafted in the Cotswolds.
Oh, nice.
So if the chat are not from Britain, the Cotswolds are like
lovely.
they're kind of like lovely countryside, really, aren't they?
Yes, so it's sort of a very it's what you expect. I guess Hot Fuzz, the village in
Yeah,
Hot
right.
Fuzz.
It's kind of in the West Country, right? The Cotswolds.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
sort of what Americans think of when they think of like the British countryside.
Apparently, a lot of people go there to come off the smack. So that's a bit of knowledge for you.
Nice, that's fair. I mean, I can't think of a better place to be fair. So we've got what's this bit? We've got this bit about writing active protagonists. So we've got please be careful when writing these scenes that the change makes sense. It must have value. It must have meaning, which is obviously rule 3. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, gastronomically, whatever.
Why does it always come back to the gastronomical with this guy?
I don't know. I thought that's why I brought this bit up because I thought it'd be funny.
Hungry boy.
Whatever level you can muster your explanations and knowledge, give that meaning here. I just thought it would be great that he thought that a great character change might potentially be gastronomical.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I guess. Wait. No, I can think of a text where the character change is gastronomical. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Fucking strap yourself in.
Okay.
Dr. Zeus, green eggs and ham, baby.
Oh shit. You're
There's
right.
an entire book. That's an entire book about that. Oh, apparently the chat is a bit wonky.
Okay, I'll fix that. Hang on. There we go. I should have just reset it now.
I don't know what they mean exactly by wonky, but yeah.
I assume it means wonky on screen. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It was doing that in the first episode as well. Yeah. There you go. I've just switched it off and on.
We're having some socialist tech moments.
Yeah. So, are you ready for some more Smudboy prose?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Okay, so
Bang, bang, bang.
so we're talking about the enlightenment of a character. So we're going. This is the pièce de résistance, the pinnacle, the highest point in the story for drama to take place.
Beautiful pronunciation, by the way.
Yes, the highest point in the story for drama to take place, and for catharsis, which, as we remember, is a fancy word for I can't remember what he said it was. It's a fancy Aristotle word, I think is the term.
Fancy Aristotle word, yeah.
Yeah. Make it count. Hit that grand slam. Make that literary and literal climax. Use all your firepower and blow them out of the water. 4th of July, Chinese New Year, you got it, you write it down. Just make it believable. Brackets rule 1.
I mean, it's just word salad at this point.
Even break rule 6 a bit. Don't worry, the editors will fix it later. Again, he did say earlier he can't think of any reason that anyone would break any of his rules.
Yeah, just no reason to break the rules, but break them if you want.
Yeah, and I just...
But we know as well, he says, right, you've got to know the rules before you can break them. So there is a reason to break the rules. It's just you have to be an expert level master.
Which obviously he is, which is why
he's contradicting himself again.
Oh man, chat's being weird again.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's just being a bit of a silly boy.
He is a fucking silly boy. He's a buffoon, I would say.
He is a complete buffoon.
He's a ninny.
Ninny. Okay. So I just love the make that literary and literal climax. So are we saying that he's literally wanking as he's writing climax?
We've covered this. When he is getting off on his own work, he's rock hard and he comes in his own mouth.
Okay. Okay. I love
allegedly.
I love how
allegedly
like
in Minecraft.
Throughout this book, I think it's hilarious that like most of it is like after the rules, most of it is just sort of boring. Sort of faux academic drivel, which obviously he doesn't understand anything of the academic sort of approach to film criticism. But occasionally he has these weird paragraphs where he'll go on about the grand slam, blow them out of the water. But like most of the time, it'll just be sort of really boring, and you'd want to skip over it.
Yeah. Hit that grand slam, make that literary and literal climax. When he said, yeah, what does he mean by literal climax? Is he saying? Is he saying?
I think he's saying just come.
Is he saying make your reader come?
I think he's saying make your reader come.
Is he saying? Yeah, make your reader just do their beans. What is that? Hang on, we've got I think the chat might still be a bit shit by the way.
Yeah, I don't think we can fix it.
We've got Pykel saying, "Could you close and reopen a stream to reset the chat?"
Oh no, we could. I think we could do that, but I really don't want to because then we'd end up with 3 different. I can turn the chat off, but
try turning the chat off and on again.
I've done that like twice now, though. But so I'll leave it off for a bit.
What exactly is wonky about it?
Oh, it's just that when it appears on screen, it ends up being very that it repeats the same messages. It did it on the first stream we did as well.
One, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's all right. Okay, I mean, we can live with that, right? We could just kind of, because we're still seeing the chat in YouTube.
Yeah, and after this video goes up, I will put the I will set the chat to public, so it'll appear on the side of the video anyway.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. But so I just want to
I'm loving, but yeah, Bubble Boy, that shocking death at the end of Avengers Endgame. I coom.
True. So we've got...
True, I just splooged all over the seat in front of me, to be honest, when I watched Avengers Endgame. The last 40 minutes of that film, I was just non-stop jizzing.
Okay, so I just...
We started with sweet popcorn, but it ended up salty. That's all I'll say.
Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Right,
This is not a family-friendly stream anymore.
It's not, no.
We've talked about cum so much.
Yeah, we have talked about cum so much. I think this is just what happens when you get drunk.
What?
You just got cum on the brain.
I am the 34-year-old coomer, it's true. Riot Fox says, "God damn it, I was going to say hi to my mum," shaking my head. Yeah, well, I don't think your mum's watching this, and if they are, yeah, I'm worried about how many times I've talked about cum. But hi to Riot Fox's mum. Sorry about the cum talk. I'm usually a lot more civilized than I have been today. Partially it's smud fatigue. Partially it's the fact that I'm several beers deep.
I think Riot Fox is correct. The stream stopped being family friendly the second it started. That's definitely true.
Look, we are good Christian boys. We are family friendly Christian boys, and our content is Christian. Okay, this is about God. Speaking of God, can we hear his words now, Matt?
Yes. So we've skipped ahead a few pages again. So I did take again these yellow.
Oh shit! Food analogy 3: bread. Smudboy's bread tube confirmed.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to point out here. So food analogy 3: bread. Depth of characters starts from the physical. Man cannot live on bread alone, but first he must still have bread. And then I just put a little note here.
Is this bread tube?
I just put a little note here that just says "Comrade Smudboy."
I like that you preempted my joke.
Yeah, because that was what I thought as soon as I saw this. It was like, man can't live on bread alone, but first he must still have bread. That is literally.
That's pinko commie talk right there. That's a surprise from Smudboy.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he means, but like he does. Like this chapter is basically just about like the physical needs of the human body and your characters like needing to.
Yeah, to be fair, the actual phrase doesn't actually mean a lot. Yeah,
it is completely accidental.
Cannot live on bread alone, but first he must still have bread. It does sound like something Jesus might say.
Yeah, honestly, you know what? If you put that on next to a picture of Karl Marx,
or Jesus.
You know what? You could probably convince people it was real.
Yeah. Man cannot live on bread alone, but first he must still have bread. That is, yeah. I think that I'm going to get that tattooed on my leg.
I love it.
Oh,
hang on. Yeah, you know what? That would actually be quite a good like fake image to put on like.
Put it over like Che Guevara.
Put over Che Guevara.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to see if I can do that. Che Guevara.
Oh, we're really not talking about the book anymore.
Well, no, because like I said, I don't think we have much left to go.
Yeah, we've kind of covered the meat of the book. We've covered this juice of the steak.
Yes, I mean, like I have, like every time we move on to a new thing, I am skipping several pages now. So it is very much that we.
So if you want to read the full book, buy it.
I guess so. Yeah, hang on. I'm just going to create a masterpiece here. Oh shit.
I'll just entertain the masses while you're doing that.
Sure, go for it.
I was going to just do like elevator music, but that's not good.
No, okay. What are you drinking right now? Are you still on your...
The old hooky or whatever it's fucking called. The Cotswolds juice. And I must say, it is fruity and full-bodied. I'm quite enjoying that. Nice. I mean, I've enjoyed all the beers. Riot Fox says Karl Marx is Jesus confirmed, which is very on brand for Comrade Riot Fox. Vainly Wombat says, I'm going to get a flute tattooed on Smudboy's leg. I like that. Yeah. We've got some good stuff. Neff is doing a very niche reference to our D&D campaign. Breadbin has entered the chat. I'm not even going to explain that. I'm just going to leave it hanging.
Okay.
Bubble Boy says, how am I supposed to teach my 6-year-old nephew about creative writing now? Referencing us no longer being family friendly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, have any of these streams been monetized?
I think one of them did.
Because we've been effing and jeffing from day one. I mean, admittedly, not all of them have talked about Smudboy's big veiny cock jizzing into his own mouth.
Yeah.
But most of them have concerned, mostly from me, it has to be said, have had a fair amount of effing and jeffing in them. Or at least a fair amount of effing. I don't think we've done that much jeffing.
What is jeffing?
I don't know. I feel like that's just miscellaneous swearing. Like, effing is like just saying fuck, right?
Right.
But jeffing is like shit, bollocks. I was going to say the C word, but I don't know if that's acceptable.
Yeah, I can say it. Go for it.
CHUD!
Okay.
I've been refraining from saying the C word over most of these. Because the thing is, I know not everyone in the chat is British.
Yeah.
And I know in Britain we use the C word, which is cunt, by the way, as kind of like a comma. You know, we use it as a punctuation mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's considered more offensive in America, so I kind of try to curb it a little bit. But anyway, have you concocted this masterpiece yet?
Not yet. When was? Hang on, I'm gonna have to. When was Che Guevara like most active? I don't know much about history.
I don't know, like 19 something. That was a broad guess.
Okay, right.
Bubble Boy is correct. Smudboy is basically an autofellatio Ouroboros.
Okay, so if we say like 65, would that be believable?
He is, because he not only comes in his own mouth, he shits out the cum later.
Brilliant. I'm gonna say 65. Is that believable?
Didn't you shit out cum? You know, if you suck a cock and some cum, you swallow the cum.
Yeah.
Sorry to Riot Fox's mum. Do you then shit out the cum? Because you've consumed it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's not going to come out as cum, is it? But
well, no, you're not just going to sit on the loo and then come out of your anus.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but well, I've never thought of that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Veiny Wombat says C word is the communist manifestation. Oh, Neff coming in there with a fun fact in quotation marks. The European Spanish equivalent of effing and blinding, or effing and jeffing, effectively translates to swearing like a Jew.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah. I suppose Pykel is leaving the stream. See you later, Pykel. I mean, are you just making this image of Che Guevara now?
Yeah, look, I've created it.
Okay, good, because I feel like we've just paused in the stream.
There we go. I've just created
Riot Fox says autofellatio Ouroboros is so going to go in my vocabulary. Celestial Sitcom says, does it have calories? Referring to jism.
I believe it does, yeah.
You absorb the cum for energy. I believe it's protein, right, cum? I don't know, though.
What do you think? I've created the masterpiece.
Man cannot live on bread alone, but first he must have bread. Che Guevara. Well, there it is. Yeah. I think that should be the... obviously, we've got the sad egg and the sad steak as the thumbnail for the other one. That should be the thumbnail for this one, for part 2.
Yeah, okay. I'll Okay, right, Fox. I'll post it in the Discord after the stream.
It does sound like something Che Guevara might say.
I know, I love it. That's like it's such a great. So this is obviously like really badly made, just like in Microsoft Paint. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna turn the chat off because it is just. Oh, that's the wrong thing I opened.
Yeah, you can turn it off on Streamlabs, right?
Yeah,
But
there you
keep
go. Chat box is off now. Yeah, so the chat will be like just on the side of the video.
Cool.
Here we go. This is so we've moved on. We're moving on now from Comrade.
Comrade Smud.
Comrade Smud.
Smud Guevara.
Yeah. So so now we're actually going to discuss antagonists and protagonists, which is something.
And bear in mind that the protagonist is the oil that you cook the egg with,
and the antagonist is, I believe, the branded water that you cook the egg with.
Well, they're both branded.
They're both branded.
Smudboy doesn't use store brand fucking oil and water. He doesn't use the water from the tap when he's cooking eggs. He uses
some kind of fucking peasant.
He's some kind of fucking cunt. No, he uses Evian.
He uses Evian. Okay, so we've got Okay, so why is an antagonist evil?
Oh God.
So why,
he doesn't use the water from the tap like a bitch. He uses Evian.
Why is an antagonist evil? Vices. Why is the protagonist good? Virtues. Too much of a thing or excess is bad, to the point of breaking rule 1. So it's saying basically here that objectively, if you like something too much, then you're objectively bad.
Well, if you like smack too much, you do have to spend a little time in the Cotswolds coming off it. So
yeah, but I mean, but you're not objectively bad at that point. You're just a victim of addiction.
Of a smackhead, yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange that he vices. He believes that too much of a thing or excess is bad to the point of breaking rule 1 in a story. I just don't understand what point he's trying to make here.
He's talking absolute fucking drivel again.
Oh right, Fox. Rule 1 was
achieve verisimilitude.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about superheroes. Are you ready?
No.
Okay, we're going to do it anyway. So Batman, a famous anti-hero, is more good than bad. He is a vigilante who uses fear and torture, yet tries to help people through pain and sacrifice. His nemesis, the Joker, and the rest of the Rogues Gallery seek versions of destruction, death, or some pleasurable gain. Justice and life is good, death and destruction is bad. We need to tell a story about a character we can relate to, good or bad. We can relate to a killer provided their motivations are justified, as in Shakespeare's Hamlet. Then there's another thing about Batman being a vigilante. We can understand why and how he does this and he doesn't kill. I guess I just wanted to talk about Batman. Really. So what's your position on Batman?
I mean, I enjoy Batman, I suppose, or I enjoy certain interpretations of Batman. I would say I have been a Batman fan in my life. If we're about to have a political discussion on Batman, then that's another thing. Okay, so let's just discuss it right out of the of the gate. Do you think Batman is a fascist? The honest answer is it depends who's writing him. Okay, fair enough. There's been so many different versions. I think, I mean, yeah, no, I don't. Is the overall? I don't think it was intended to be fascist. I think it kind of comes off as fascist, and certainly if he's being written by Frank Miller, he is just a fascist. Well, Frank Miller is a fascist, so that just makes sense. yeah, but there's versions of Batman that are not. Because I think this is kind of the issue, right? Like, as much as you can talk about the political philosophy behind fictional characters and that kind of stuff, and I think it is worth digging into, to be clear, like, the idea of Batman as this realistic character is relatively recent. Like, the original Batman is fairly absurd. Yeah. So as much as like the original Batman was dark and violent, like he is absurd. Oh, for sure. He had like a rainbow costume at one point, didn't he? Yeah. And he was like based on Zorro originally.
Well, Zorro is cool, to be fair.
Yeah, and Zorro is definitely not a fascist.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so it's kind of the honest answer is a character that's been around for that long. You can ascribe many different political ideologies to. So to say Batman is fascist is not necessarily wrong, but is reductive, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think it's I think it is very much a case of it being around so long that people have started to reinterpret Batman in context of like a modern world, right? Because essentially he's a rich guy who, rather than getting help or donating all his money to help make the lives of people better, he instead decides to waste his money sort of beating up petty criminals.
Not to destroy you with facts and logic, but the comic books do actually address this. Bruce Wayne actually gives most of his fortune away to charity. He uses a relatively small percentage of it to be Batman. So this is something that's addressed in certain comics and stuff. So the take that Batman only uses his money to beat up criminals is not correct.
I don't think he necessarily uses all of it to beat up criminals, but he uses a significant amount, and also he would just be better off if he just didn't do anything and gave his money.
I suppose my question about is Batman fascist is like, why is he more fascist than, say, Superman? Like, it seems like we only really have this discussion around Batman, and I think that's like wrong.
I think it's because Batman sort of fits the
well, it's because Batman's quote unquote realistic, right? Whereas we just kind of go like, oh, anyone like Superman is just naturally superior, so they can do what they want. Whereas like in a lot of ways, I mean, people are referencing The Boys in the chat. The Boys is actually a great deconstruction of the very notion of like what a superhero is, because they have their character Homelander, who's the equivalent of Superman in that, and he's like a raging psychopath basically. And it's like, and it's kind of like, yes, if there was someone who was constantly told you're special and who was objectively an elevated person, most likely they would be an insane lunatic, right? They wouldn't be.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and the only one that touches on this because Superman ain't people. But like, yeah, I think this is the issue though. Like, because I mean, part of it is like, I think part of it is Batman's stories have been trying to be more and more quote unquote realistic over time. And I think the more realistic you play it, the more Batman is a bit of a fascist, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure. Yeah.
Whereas like, if you talk like Neff kind of points out, was Adam West's Batman a fascist? And like, no, obviously not. But the Adam West version is more like, it's camp and silly and it's not taking itself seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I think the more gritty and real you play it, the more Batman kind of inevitably becomes fascist, right? Or takes on fascist ideas.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is very much sort of the whole idea of it is inherently kind of silly, right? But if you do try and play it serious, like if you sort of put someone like that in our world, it would just be sort of like, they are kind of a monster. Right?
I think it's interesting that we have this conversation around like Batman, but not around, say, Iron Man.
Oh, well, Iron Man was originally created like to be a dickhead, right? That's the whole point of Tony Stark. Yeah,
like Stan Lee was literally experimenting with like, all my readers are hippies. Let's see if I can make them sympathize with like a capitalist Randian hero.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of a bit of fun. Yeah, and like, to be honest, I like Batman, but I'm kind of bored of talking about Batman in general. Like the cultural conversation around Batman is kind of boring to me.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there's too many Batman movies, and like
I'm not in any way interested in this new one that's coming out.
Yeah,
I'm just like, fucking cares, you know?
Yeah, it's like Batman in the new movies, the DCCU. It's just shit. It's just yeah. I've just sort of lost interest, I guess, in Batman, really.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, there's a lot of conversation to have around why do we idealize superheroes in general, you know?
Yeah.
I think just putting it on Batman is kind of missing the point, because all superhero stories essentially require us to believe that, or to kind of buy into a notion of like, there are exceptional individuals who are not only physically or mentally superior, they are morally superior as well. And you kind of go, right, if you really break that down, all superheroes are fascists on some level. And obviously that's the point of The Boys, that's the point of Watchmen, like this idea has been discussed.
Yeah.
But And I think as well, okay, so like, yes, it's fun to kind of be like, oh, Batman's a fascist, or oh, he works with the police and all that. But like, because Batman's existed for so long, there are countless examples of Batman not working with the police as well. Like, there are like even in the Frank Miller version, he doesn't work with the police. Like, he considers himself above the law, and that is the most fascist version, right? And he kind of it's a conversation. It's a conversation for another time, maybe. But it's kind of, I think there's more to it than just, is Batman a fascist? You know, I think if you're asking that question, you have to look at all of the Justice League and go, well, what makes Batman more fascist than, say, Superman or Wonder Woman or any of these characters, right? Like Green Lantern is a cop. He's a space cop, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like, all of
I
them
guess there's a whole discussion to be had about like the purpose of superheroes in our as the most popular like kind of entertainment in our world. Right? And I think there are probably people who have made that point.
I'm not saying if you like superheroes you're a fascist, by the way. I'm just saying.
I understand.
I'm just saying that if you have to, if you want to extend that to Batman, yeah, then yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Sorry. So Veiny Wombat points out in the animated series Justice League, there's an alternate dimension where they are fascists. Batman sees how little it'll take him to become a fascist. Yes, the Justice League cartoon is excellent, and they do actually kind of explore this theme a little bit as well, which is interesting. Yeah, yeah, and they kind of Veiny Wombat also goes on to say the reason that we like it because we admire beauty, strength, and exceptionalism. Yes, the thing with admiring exceptionalism is that its extreme point is fascist, right? Like, the extreme point of admiring exceptionalism is fascist, right? Because the whole point of fascism is like, there is one person or one man. Usually.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we were talking about earlier with the Übermensch, that does literally translate to Superman. Right? Yeah. Like,
and actually, interestingly, originally Superman was going to be a villain. The two creators originally created him to be, I mean, this never got into print, but the original idea of Superman was that by Joe Siegel and somebody Schuster, I can't remember his first name, unfortunately. They created Superman because they're both Jewish, of course. And so the idea was it was originally going to be a satire of the idea of the Übermensch.
Ah, that's interesting.
It was going to be somewhat like Homelander in The Boys. But then they kind of were like, well, that's kind of a limited idea for a character. So what if we made him good? And actually, to that point, I find it really interesting that the Zack Snyder Superman is so inherently framed as Christian when creators are both Jewish, and the story of Superman is much closer to the Moses story than it is the Jesus story.
Oh shit! Yeah, no, I hadn't even thought of that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the in the basket in the river and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's kind of like, I think the issue with all these characters is they've been around long enough that their original point is kind of lost, right? Like, whatever they were trying to say with Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman back in the day is not what they're trying to say with them now. And you can find multiple examples of each character where you could argue, like, you know, Batman's a fascist, or is Batman a fascist? He's a wealthy man who uses his wealth to help other people in some ways. So you kind of go, well, yeah, there's kind of different interpretations that you can go down. I think the issue is always realism, right? Not to contradict Smudboy's Rule 1, but the issue with all these characters is the more realistic you play them, the more they just become fascist overlords.
Well, yeah, because then there's obviously the question of if your character is that powerful.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that they probably do. I think there are a couple of things that do explore that with Superman, right? Like, is it Red Sun, where he's a communist? And
and as Mr. Man points out in the chat, there's a movie Brightburn, which that is the premise. It's like, what if Superman was a little shit?
Okay, fair, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm going to need to go for a piss again.
Oh, okay, you've broken the seal now.
Yeah, this is the issue with drinking on stream. Keep the people entertained, Matt.
I'll do my best.
Sing them a little song, and I'll be back soon.
Okay, fair enough. Right, hang on. Neff, what do you mean Wonder Woman no longer fights a giant egg who speaks horribly mangled English and has a Fu Manchu stash? Is that a thing? Is that a thing that Wonder Woman used to do? I'm just going to Google Wonder Woman egg. Oh, let's just come up with Easter eggs. Oh my god. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay, I think I found what you're talking about. Fucking hell. So, this is one of Wonder Woman's villains, apparently. What the actual fuck? Jesus Christ, this is racist as fuck. Jesus, this is horrible. Wow. I don't really have anything to say about that. That's just... When was this? Jesus. Egg foo. Right, okay, egg foo Wikipedia. When was this? 1965. Oof. Ooh, Jesus. That's wow. What can I say but yikes, I guess. Fucking hell. What? I do not understand. Just, well, to be fair, I guess there's like some yikes stuff in all comics, right? They've been going for so long. I just... Also, Marvel do Marvel Unlimited. Is that some kind of online, like Netflix style thing? He was bitten by a radioactive egg. I think this is how Smudboy got his powers, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, Mr. Man 991. I have actually read some of the very early X-Men comics, because I used to, when I was a kid, I got some comic books that had like some of the first ever X-Men comics in them, and they were very interesting.
What's up?
Hello!
I love X-Men too.
X-Men 2 is good.
I mean, I love X-Men as well. Although
X-Men is good as well. Right,
yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about superheroes. Let's get back into the book, because like I said, I think we're sort of towards the end, and we're going to skip a few pages every time, if that's okay.
Yeah, I fully don't care about this book anymore.
Okay, so I just want to sort of bring this to the attention. So let's also take a step back and remember, not all genres are action or involve life or death situations. The romance genre is typically about the male protagonist wooing the female antagonist, which I wouldn't necessarily say is true. It's often the female protagonist, but anyway, usually to comedic levels, e.g., The Taming of the Shrew.
That's the most recent example that he can think of.
Not only that, but The Taming of the Shrew is a famous example of an incredibly abusive representation, right? Like the Taming of the Shrew. The reason it's called that is the woman is the shrew, which is a rude or uppity woman, and the taming of her is her husband abusing her until she becomes a good wife, right? Like that's
more or less, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, we don't have time to get into the taming of the shrew.
No, I know there is more nuance to it than that, but it's kind of horrifying that's the.
It's very of its time, and its time was Shakespeare's day, you know.
Yeah, so, and that's very weird that's a that's the example he goes for.
It was the basis of the film 10 Things I Hate About You. So
I've not seen 10 Things I Hate About You, but that's all.
You've not seen 10 Things I Hate About You?
No, I have not.
What the fuck? Everyone's seen that, haven't they?
Well, not me.
Good movie. I mean, very of its time in a different way, but starring the late Heath Ledger, of course.
Oh, I do know about that, and he was, as a kid, right? It was one of the first movies he was in.
Yes, it was definitely one of the first American movies he was in, because it's also got a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh wow, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah, they're all Christopher Nolan boys.
Anyway, so bearing in mind what I just said, so Smudboy then says, neither of these characters, as in the characters in the Taming of the Shrew, are inherently good or evil, as it's a struggle of showcasing one's worth as a partner and how that struggle changes them and influences others. Now, I think
that says all you need to know about Smudboy and his relationships.
Like, that's just... Jesus Christ.
I mean, what does he mean by your worth as a partner as well? Like, what does that really mean?
It means women should obey their husbands, I guess.
Yeah. But then husbands have to prove to be good masters, I suppose, is the other side of that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
worthy
horrible.
masters. Yeah, and the more you dig into that, the more fucking weird it becomes. Never mind the more you dig into Batman.
So, again, we've got Smudboy contradicting himself when it comes to his own rules.
That's a
So,
shock.
a
That is
few
a
pages
fucking
later, we've got. I know. We've got in this, we see Rule 1 and Rule 3 in contention. What is more important, believability of the physical world or providing meaning of your character by plastering their qualities throughout the world? While one should characterize the world, nothing is stopping you from then making that strange technological object or magical piece of lore fit. So again, he's sort of saying, don't bother doing world building. Focus exclusively on story and world. But like, it's just important. I don't know. I feel like he's such a weird lore nerd, but also he hates, writers who add lore, and it is, and also like the important part is obviously like providing meaning to your character, right? Like
Yes.
the important part.
Like, lore is irrelevant compared to character growth, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to have interesting lore, or it's nice to have kind of, an interesting world around it. But like, yeah, it's just these fucking nerds and their obsession with. Oh, well, in the X-Men Commander novel on page 56, it says this. Oh, it's just like, who fucking cares? Like, yeah, all right. It is annoying sometimes when a work contradicts its own lore to an extent that it just stops making sense. But what are we talking about? Also, what do we mean when we're talking about lore is the other thing that annoys me. Because, like, to me, when people talk about lore in the case of like a franchise, it means like the world building that's already happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and sometimes it's like, in the case of, say, Star Wars, it's happened in books and comics outside of the text itself.
Yeah.
Or the film itself. Yeah, it's just, I don't know why. How do these people enjoy anything?
Well, as Bubbleboy said, Smudboy's ideal book is literally just a wiki page, and I think that's true.
I think it might be, yeah. I think it really might be, because I can't imagine how he enjoys fiction. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
I can't imagine how he sits down and enjoys a story, because his entire mentality is try and pick out logical flaws.
Yeah.
Or lore contradictions, whatever that means. It's just...
But, like, yeah, he does sort of criticize movies, like, with the minutiae and sort of weird nitpicks, as opposed to actually engaging with art on its own level, or as a work of art. It is just sort of very surface level,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, we have skipped ahead another few pages. So we've got another fun metaphor for you. It is another double one. So
I'm ready.
We've got, if characterization is the flavor of the day forever in every form, and writing is all about conflict, then you've got a lot of contentious topics to write about. Show and describe with a multicolored palette and a series of brushes.
A multicolored palette. Okay.
So
does he mean like a palette of paint?
Yes. So he skipped,
I'm confused because he's been talking about food this entire book.
Yeah. So he talks about characterization. Talks about characterization being the flavor of the day, and then he immediately skips to painting with a multicolored palette and series of brushes.
Yeah, I mean, he's never met a metaphor that he doesn't want to mix with another metaphor.
Yeah, it's
like, God Almighty.
Yeah. So we're on chapter 6 now, writing matrices. So it opens with a metaphor, which is the technique of beating your audience repeatedly with a feather. Make sure they feel, see, taste, etc. that it's a feather.
What?
Make sure your audience licks that feather.
Lick that feather.
Lick.
Taste that delicious feather.
So we've got.
I want to shout out Bubbleboy in the chat. It seems all he wants to do is debate bro a story.
Yes.
That's exactly what he does with his time. This 40-year-old man.
So talking about symbolism, he doesn't actually have much to say about symbolism.
Also, yeah, celestial sitcom. Smudboy is secretly CinemaSins. That is giving him too much credit, because at least the CinemaSins know their shit, right? Like whenever anyone criticizes them, they just go, "It's just a joke, bro. Bro, it's just a joke." Like CinemaSins would never write
They
a
don't
book.
take themselves as seriously as Smudboy, for
Yes,
sure.
yeah. CinemaSins would never write a book about how to make the objectively unsinful film, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that people like Smudboy really hate CinemaSins, and they get really pissed off if you
do.
accuse
They
them
hate
of dinging a film.
The issue is they don't hate CinemaSins because it's an inherently stupid way to review a film. They hate CinemaSins because the sins they pick are wrong.
Yeah,
That's what they hate.
yeah.
Ugh.
So we talked about symbolism.
I'm up to the Cotswolds, mate. I'm going to the Cotswolds. I'll see you later.
So we've got problems of interpretation exist when writers use loaded symbols like religious or political icons, or visual designs purely for artistic value. The use of astrological or alchemical imagery to represent generic magic, e.g., glyphs, in a fantasy setting. So basically, what it's saying is don't use pre-existing symbols because they might mean things, and you don't want to imply meaning in a story. You just want a boring paint by numbers story that people can go, yeah, it was okay.
I'm so lost. I mean, all the people, all the good folk of the chat are very confused. Bear in mind, I've read this before, and I don't know what he's on about. The technique. So even before we get into what you just read, yeah, the technique of beating your audience repeatedly with a feather, that means nothing. Yeah. Going into what you've just said, problems of interpretation exist when writers use loading visual designs. The use of like, what is he even gibbering on about at this point? Like, he's just fucking talking shit. Like, there's just nothing. It's just, there's no substance. There is nothing.
Yeah.
To use a Smudboy-like metaphor, this is like biting into a steak to find it is merely cardboard. Like, there is nothing of any flavor, of any sustenance. There is nothing of any value in this book.
Yes, that is, I would say, objectively correct.
Sorry, I've really lost the plot. I think if you listen to all these streams one after the other, you'll see me just slowly breaking.
We were sort of losing it last time, but this time we've just properly cut off.
I listened to part one, and we're pretty chipper in part one.
Yeah,
we're having a good time, but by this now we've just degenerated into just. I'm not even pretending to analyze the book properly. I'm just slacking him off.
Okay. So
I mean, you're bravely trying to keep this ship sailing in the right direction.
Yeah.
There's a drunk pirate aboard.
So next we've got interpreting symbols should have a clear and singular avenue. Do not allow your audience to wax poetically about random ideas because of a loaded symbol or a symbol you didn't bother to define.
Or don't let your audience interpret things.
Yeah, don't leave any.
If you're going to do symbolism, make it so obvious that there is no other interpretation. God, he's just a like. What even is that as writing advice?
Yeah. So
yeah, I agree with Mr. Mann. This is literally finishing. This is like finishing your 5,000 word essay, realizing you've only written 600 words, so just padding. This is exactly what this is.
Yeah, because essentially I reckon what this book originally was just the rules, and then he sort of decided he had to write a bit more.
Yeah, should have been a blog post, mate. But Bubble Boy, though, also says another Smudboy metaphor is like cracking open an egg only to find no egg.
Oh my god, like an empty egg.
An empty shell.
Oh, like an Easter egg. Or like an American Easter egg.
Like Smudboy himself, an empty shell.
Yeah, so we've moved on to motif.
Sorry, that's an ad hominem. That's uncivilized.
That's true, it is uncivilized. I mean, earlier we were talking extensively about him wanking himself off reading his own writing and coming in his mouth.
We said allegedly in Minecraft, so...
That's true. So now we're talking about motif. So we've got another metaphor. So we're hopefully digesting the belief we should be painting our fictional universe protagonist with as many characterizations of them as possible.
Digesting. Because this is food.
Yeah, we've got food here.
We're hopefully digesting the belief we should be painting our fictional protagonist. I mean, just whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Whatever. Because he just said a minute ago, I know we're skipping pages, but he just said a minute ago, don't let your audience wax poetic about things you've not defined. But now he's saying, make sure your protagonist has as many characterizations of them as possible. So what is it? Which is it? Do you want a really clear, easy to understand story, or do you want one that's open to interpretation? You fucking bell slap. Like, what do you
bell slap?
What do you want from me?
Also, the term bell slap.
I don't agree that a motif is an elongated symbol either. So I disagree with that premise. I reject it.
Well, you're probably going to also reject this because it says, unfortunately, the problem with symbolism is it's usually too interpretive.
Bollocks, nonsense.
Where the audience's sense of taste is subjective and meaning can be derived from anything. Hang on, I've lost my mouse. I mean, you could derive from anything. The opposite of what you intended could happen even when directly characterizing the world with your main characters. Rule 6 needs to be achieved.
What was Rule 6 again?
Oh, I can't fucking remember.
Don't shove an egg up your ass.
Don't shove an egg up your ass. That'll be it, yeah. Hang on. I'll see if we can...
Or do shove an egg up your ass.
Where are we? We're page 93. Let's go back and have a look at what rules.
Oh, thank God we're on page 93 of 119. I thought we had so much more of this to go. How is the chat, by the way? Everyone enjoying this? It's okay if you're not, chat.
Oh, no, hang on. So that was...
We won't judge you.
Rule 6 was clarity.
Oh, clarity. Yeah, that old Smudboy favourite.
Okay, 93. Okay, right, yeah. Thus, to make symbolism work on top of a motif, it must be repetitive and whose meaning is as blatantly obvious as possible.
Yeah. Sorry, my chat's a bit slow, so I'm not getting all the sick burns that people are giving, but I do want to shout out, Neff says, even by my own standards, meaning as a Lovecraftian entity, this text is madness-inducing. I need to take lessons from it.
Very true.
Yeah, Bubble Boy says, Bubble Boy says a lot of things, but I like that Bubble Boy says that a motif is just a wide symbol. Of Rule 6, protect the eggs. Yeah. So yeah, what we've learned from that paragraph you just read out is Smudboy badly needs an editor or to stop writing entirely.
Ideally the latter, but the former would also be preferable to whatever this shit is.
Why didn't he save this on a floppy disk and then throw the floppy disk into the sun?
Or just burn it. Just
frisbee the floppy disk into the jaws of a waiting alligator.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. That's a good. That would have been preferable. So
the man's a fool. He's a buffoon of the highest order.
So we've got more maths to do. Are you ready?
I love maths. I love maths in a book about how to write good.
Okay, so your story should have 3 times 2 levels of elements to keep track of, thus 2 dimensions.
So 6 levels to keep track of.
Your big 2, which remember are the protagonists and antagonists.
Do this when he's like, because earlier he was like 6 plus 1 rules is a bit much. You mean 7? Why is he now going 3 times 2 things as a thing? Like, just fucking say 6. What's wrong with you?
So the big 2, which, as I said, remember, is the protagonist and antagonist from earlier, and their criss-crossing paths should be 2 major guides the story follows, the times 2. They should have their own plot and share a plot goal and climax. Think of a line graph on 2 separate pieces of transparent paper, the dimensions being time, x, and volume, y. The taller the line, volume, the larger your mould. The reason we figure out all these key events is so you should never get lost, since you know where everything is going.
Well, all I have to say to that is we're leftists, so we don't know about math.
That's true.
That's true. Leftists cannot do math. Fact.
So you'll be happy the dinosaur skeleton does return.
Oh, fucking hell, really? Is it the double-spined backbone of the beast, though?
It is, yeah. So remember, a proper story has 2 paths, 2 series of plot points, 1 for each big 2. Again, why didn't you just say of the big 2 or big 1 or something? Your hanging dinosaur skeleton has at least 2 fused, interconnected spines.
Oh, it actually is the double-spined beast of the fucking creature. Oh, for God's sake!
Oh, fucking hell. Right, okay, so now we've got...
This is true madness. This is staring into the eyes of madness.
Okay, we've not got much left now.
I know, but I'm just so. Oh, I'm at the end of my tether.
So we've got drama and pacing now. So now you might be thinking, what about the narrative structure? You know, that diagram that has a triangle showing the climax at the top, the rising and falling action. Since we've figured out the details, this is largely useless.
Genius. Fucking genius. Do you know who else is largely useless? Fucking Smudboy.
Thing is though, these people like really love like the 3-act structure and the hero's journey and stuff like that. But here he's just sort of advocating for like getting rid of narrative structure.
Yeah, I mean, fucking, I don't know. Celestial Sitcom says, I don't understand even a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, you're in the same boat as us. And we've read the book. And we don't understand. In a way, it's like reading James Joyce because you just can't quite grasp it on the first go.
Do you think Smudboy has a farting fetish, just like Joyce?
I think he almost certainly does.
But it's his own farts.
That's not even alleged or in Minecraft. I'm stating that as a fact.
Jesus Christ.
If Smudboy's lawyers want to come at me, then come at me, bro.
Oh, can you imagine being served a lawsuit and saying Henchbrain 666 on it?
Yeah. Henchbrain 666 is called to the court. Mate, I'd happily go on Judge Judy with fucking
Judge
Smudboy.
Or Judge Rinder. You'd have to get him over to the UK.
Yeah. Is Judge Judy even still on?
I don't know. I know Judge Rinder is still on, and I think Rinder is superior.
I haven't watched a lot of Judge Rinder.
I used to watch it because it was always on in the TV on my lunch break in one of my previous jobs on the in the break room.
I watched a lot of Loose Women for the same reason. And I've got to be honest with you, Loose Women is hard to get through.
Yeah, no, I can see that. So later on in the same paragraph, we've got figuring out a bar or chart, or well, he said it should be figuring out a bar or chart graph won't help, but he misspelled it and said figuring out a bar or chat graph won't help, which is interesting because he's been putting in a lot of charts and graphs into this book, but they don't help.
Well, he's right. I agree with him. It's the first sensible thing he said all day.
Oh shit! Oh fuck's sake! I'm not figuring this.
What have you done now?
I've lost my fucking space. There we.
It's all right. I'll keep him entertained while you look. Ryan Fox says Henchbrain is unhinged today. I love to see it. Yeah, I mean the composed, calm, and collected Henchbrain that you had in episode 1. The character arc for Henchbrain has been to slowly become more unhinged as time goes on.
I respect that.
I'm the Joker, baby.
So we've got how an inciting incident.
Do you know what you get when you write a really pretentious, tedious book about how to write the objectively good story? You get what you fucking deserve. Shoot Smudboy in the head.
Jesus Christ! In Minecraft, do not look at that.
It's a Joker reference. A Joker reference, you know?
Okay,
the end
fine.
Of Joker. People get that.
I mean, to be fair, Smudboy does say he wants to punch people in the face on his podcast, but still, we're better than him.
Yes, we are better than him. That was a Joker reference. I'm not advocating for shooting Smudboy in the head.
Right, okay.
Although in Minecraft, feel free.
Yeah, if you do come across Smudboy in a Minecraft server, you can.
I've never played Minecraft. I don't know if you can shoot people in Minecraft.
Is
it like Tomb Raider or something? I don't know.
Well, you get a bow and arrow, I guess. You can shoot someone with a bow and arrow.
Oh, there you go then.
Okay, so we've got how an inciting incident raises drama in an intro where we barely know our characters.
Sorry, I was just laughing at the genuine terror you had there because this is your YouTube channel. And you thought for a minute that your co-host was advocating shooting Smudboy. No, I was referencing the end of Joker. I was referencing the end of Joker in Minecraft, allegedly. Go on. I'm sure he said worse.
Oh, I know he said worse. Yeah, so here we go. We've got how an inciting incident raises drama in an intro where we barely know our characters is beyond me.
What?
So basically he's sort of poo-pooing the idea of the classical sort of film theory hero's journey kind of thing, which is interesting again because he is a big fan of the traditional.
Oh, is he not just saying? I think he might just read the sentence again.
How an inciting incident raises drama in an intro where we barely know our characters is beyond me.
I think he's just saying like standard writing is beyond him. In which case I agree. Again. The second most sensible thing you said all day.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess he's basically saying that like, how we're supposed to care about an inciting incident raising drama. It's just...
When we barely know our characters. It's not like there are multiple examples of stories that start like that. It's the, he's mentioned James Bond a couple of times, right? Every Bond movie starts like that.
Yeah.
Every Bond movie has a pre-credits scene where some shit is going down. And like, admittedly, we know Bond, right? But we don't often know the situation that he's in, do we? Like, it's often just like, here he is running along a roof or something like that. And even then, so many films start like that. They'll have the inciting incident and then be like, how did we get here? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, whatever.
Yeah, no,
it's just wrong again.
I know. So, skipping a couple of pages ahead, he's now sort of, in my opinion, or in my interpretation, he's sort of created a strange situation in which he's sort of writing about civil rights, I think, because he's talking... So saying, for example, let's take an ideology like politics and put in some main characters. The protagonist...
Sorry, an ideology like politics.
Yes.
Politics is an ideology.
Politics is an ideology. Most people, you see, they just like to watch movies. They don't have any ideology whatsoever.
The fact that politics is an ideology, not socialism is an ideology, not conservatism is an ideology, just politics in general.
Just politics in general. If I don't know if he's doing a...
He is supposed to be a centrist, right? So
is he a centrist? He's definitely right wing.
I think he's claimed to be a centrist before, but he's definitely right wing.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
So
I'm allergic to bullshit, bruh.
Yes, I put in some main characters. The protagonist is trying to overthrow a corrupt government, as is the antagonist, but they have a much more violent solution to things. So we've got the protagonist, ideal, minimalism, weakness, credulous, reckless. So the ideal is minimalism, and the weakness is credulous and reckless. And the antagonist, the ideal is dictatorship, and the weakness is egotistic and ruthless. So this seems to me sort of kind of a bit like X-Men. Like, is that what he's going for?
Oh,
but then X-Men was...
No, let's break it down with X-Men. So protagonist, ideal. Okay, actually that doesn't make any sense, does it? Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, but if it is to do with X-Men, that's very strange, because the whole point of X-Men is that like it's an allegory for Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, right?
Yeah, broadly, yeah.
I don't know, it's just very strange to me. I thought we did talk about Superman earlier, so we do have some...
Sorry, I before we move on to Superman, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the Sorry, Superman. No, not Superman. What are we talking about? This page.
X-Men,
yes, no, not X-Men. Forget X-Men for a minute. Number one, protagonist. I like that the protagonist ideal is minimalism.
Oh yeah, that is very strange.
I can't really think of a text where that is the case, unless it's like Marie Kondo.
I was gonna say.
Unless it's a story about Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo overthrowing the government. Yeah.
If it doesn't spark joy, shoot it in the head. Brap, brap. She's never said that. She says, if it doesn't spark joy, just get rid of it, right? That's her thing.
If it doesn't spark joy, this doesn't spark joy, motherfucker, and just sort of brings out a gun. Sort of.
Samuel L. Jackson as Marie Kondo. I mean, I'd watch it.
I'd watch it. So we're getting into Superman discourse now. So we've got we're talking about strengths and weaknesses. So we've got Superman is strong, can fly, is bulletproof, and has a host of superpowers. This is all a typical male child,
right? Including in some of the comics from the past, Superman had the ability, and no one talks about this, to launch a smaller Superman out of his hand.
Oh yes, I do know that. Yes.
And the thing is, the smaller Superman had all of the abilities of Superman, presumably including shooting an even smaller version of Superman out of his hand that would also have all the powers of Superman. So potentially, there's just endless Supermen getting smaller and smaller and smaller until they're at quantum level. Now, why haven't they made a film about that? Because I'd watch the fuck out of that. It'd be a bit like a Charlie Kaufman style Superman film, I think, but I'd watch that. Because the thing is, we've seen Superman fighting monsters, we've seen him flying around and doing whatever, but we've never seen a film where he's just shot smaller and smaller versions of himself.
Oh my god,
out of his hand.
Yeah, so please do not reveal the secret of Superman's new power. I have to photograph the effects of Superman's new power or they'll never believe me. A tiny replica of myself. The people who made that spaceship were very advanced in science. They must have developed a force that enabled them to project an image of themselves anywhere they wanted. And yet he's shooting a tiny Superman out of his hand.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
A tiny little Superman.
Tiny little Superman. Yeah. Brilliant.
Also, Superman couldn't always fly, is the thing.
Yeah, he used to be able to jump really high, right?
Yeah, he could leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Yeah.
But now he can fly. So
well I mean, even if you take the movies, like in in Superman 2, he can he has super logo powers where someone flies at him and he throws his logo. Yeah.
Superman 2 is the most based Superman film.
I love Superman 2.
I will not explain myself further.
I love Superman 2. I'm not going to disagree. Anyway.
Superman 2 is genuinely an incredible film, in my opinion. It's just great. Like, that is what a superhero film should be. Just fucking nonsense, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. For sure.
Like, it's good. I mean, Superman 2 is not the one where he flies around the world and reverses time, is it?
No,
I think
that's the first one.
Which is also great, because it implies that he could do that at any point.
Yes.
But chose not to. So, like, the Holocaust, he never thought to rewind time and just, like, put that to bed.
Oof.
He just, you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
I don't know. The thing is that, like... Oh, we're going to get into the... thing is, like, we've seen him go back, but he only goes back a few minutes, right? But he doesn't then go forward again, does he? So, like, we know he can go back in time, but he can't necessarily come back to the future.
Maybe? No, because he just goes back in time and then kind of replaces himself, right? He just goes forward naturally. He could go back in time if he wanted to, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He could go back in time, but he couldn't then, like, return to the present day.
He could go back all the way in time, beat up Hitler, and then just live out his life as Superman, because Superman's basically immortal.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So he can just, like, be Superman from, like, 1933 or whatever to, like, the modern day. Which, to be fair, in the case of Superman the movie, was only the 70s. So
that's true, actually. Yeah, it was not too long.
He had a few decades to live, but what's a few decades to an immortal god?
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't have even aged that much in that time.
Anyway.
So think about that.
Anyway, so
when you want to say Batman's a fascist, think about that.
Oh, Pykel is back because they're bored.
I mean, they're probably going to be even more bored by this. Yeah, my chat has been really weird. It keeps just freezing, so I'll just every now and then refresh the page and it will update.
Oh, YouTube is weird. It is a. I've heard it's a bit of a weird streaming platform, but anyway. So we talk about Superman. So we've got he's strong, can fly, is bulletproof, has a host of superpowers, including firing miniature versions of himself out of his hands. This is all a typical male child needs to like the character. But to adults, if he didn't have weaknesses to kryptonite, love for Lois, American values from a foster father, be an immigrant, and a secret identity where he plays a farm boy in a big city, he'd be boring. He still is, but being an overpowered Boy Scout, but it's his willingness to sacrifice himself in any situation that makes him heroic.
I want to just say the chat, yeah. Celestial Sitcom says he just didn't feel like it, presumably off Superman. I like that Bubble Boy points out, what if our Superman is just the smaller Superman of another galaxy-sized Superman? It's entirely possible. We can't rule it out.
Yeah, so again, we've got this weird gender essentialism from Smudboy. So we've got all the typical male child needs to like the character. And then, again, there's a sort of... I don't know if this is deliberate, but he's saying if he didn't have weaknesses to kryptonite, love for Lois, American values, it does sort of seem like he's implying that his love for Lois Lane is a weakness.
I think he's saying like there needs to be more to the character than just the ability to make a smaller version of himself.
Yeah, so we've got American values from foster father, which presumably would imply that he hates Zack Snyder's Superman, right? Because that
I don't know what his thoughts are on Snyder, to be fair.
Because the new Superman's dad is just.
It's Kevin Costner.
Is from a monster. He tells him to let a bus for children.
Yeah, and he gets killed by wind as well. Because you're right. Because in The Man of Steel, there's the bit where Kevin Costner, as Superman's dad, is like, yeah, maybe you should have just let that bus full of kids die or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's not great, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry. I've lost the ability to can, apparently. But, I mean, Actually, to be fair to Smudboy, I think he wouldn't like Man of Steel because I think, thinking about it, he was talking about Casino Royale, remember? And he said that that's objectively bad as a Bond film.
Did he?
Because it doesn't. Yeah, yeah. I think we covered this, did we not, in the first episode?
Possibly.
But
Yeah.
in the conversation with Jack Saint and in other places, he's mentioned that Casino Royale is objectively a bad Bond film because it like subverts your expectations of a Bond film. Basically, like it doesn't have crazy gadgets. It doesn't have this, that, and the other. You know, it takes itself seriously and all this, right? But and like Bond has actual emotions and stuff, and like people get actually traumatized rather than just making quips the whole time. But and like that is what most people actually like about that movie, because it's like, oh, it's like, what if this was real and anything mattered? But to Smudboy, that's wrong because that goes against the franchise. So that's kind of, so what I'm saying is I think he wouldn't like Man of Steel for that reason.
That's fair.
I think
I also just
wanted
to point out, because of obviously the nature of comic books, where he says that that if his ideology isn't about justice or American values, or any worthwhile ideology of being a hero. I just wanted to point out that there was a point where Superman did actually renounce his US citizenship.
Yes, there was, yeah.
Which is, yeah, I just wanted to point that out because again, he makes these rules that just sort of don't really apply. I think oh no, here we go. So we've got chapter 8 is writing mistakes, which is what he thinks other writers fuck up on, basically. Not him though, obviously, although we'll never be able to prove that because
he's a rational big boy.
Yeah. So we've got, here's a list of observations and suggestions to help continue to guide you to better writing. They're not all going to be relevant to you and your style, but there are still things you need to avoid. So we've got preaching, which is and we've got a direct reference to his favourite movie here. So we've got let the message of your story come naturally, if at all. So basically, he's just saying politics bad, or any kind of ideology bad, despite the fact that earlier in this book he did specifically say ideology was important.
When they say let the politics come naturally, what do they mean by that? This is the thing that always baffles me about it. It's like, if a film, if a story has a political perspective, surely that is natural because the writer wrote it with, I want to tell a story about X in mind, right?
I think what they mean is sort of, well, every time they see politics that they disagree with, it always comes off in their mind as someone like forcing politics into their precious media, right? So I think their idea is basically just like sort of make politics that I can ignore or that agrees with my politics. Because like there's no way to, like, if you're writing something from the perspective of well, from a certain perspective, right, it will naturally happen. Like, we don't know
from a certain point of view.
Like, we don't necessarily know that when Rian Johnson was writing the movie that shall not be named, that he was deliberately saying, at this point, I'm going to make a political point. It could just have come completely naturally as a part of the story, right?
I would argue it does come pretty naturally.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. But
because you know the one, John Boyega's character.
Yeah.
His whole arc is like he's like, I don't really give a fuck about the war. I just want to save my friends. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, actually, I do give a fuck. So like, it does come naturally because that's the whole point of his story, right? Is like the other one, whose name I can't remember, is like, yeah, like, look around you. These are the people who profit from war.
Yeah.
You know? So to my point of view, it does come naturally because that's what the whole film is about, or it's what the whole franchise is about at some point. Yeah. It comes as naturally as fucking Natalie Portman going, well, so this is how democracy dies, turns to camera with thunderous applause.
This is about George Bush, by the way.
Yeah, this movie is about something.
Yeah. So, by the way, Bubble Boy, he is quoting Kurt Vonnegut, but what we've
doesn't mean he's read it. Doesn't mean he's read it.
What we've learned so far is that Smudboy does have a tendency to put these quotes in, and we think that he just Googles clever quotes about writing, basically.
He definitely does. He's all of these quotes. He's just Googled, quotes about writing, you know, and just come up with this stuff. Because most of them don't really connect to what he's saying. Like, look at the Vonnegut quote. When I write, I feel like an armless, legless man with a crayon in his mouth. Like, I don't really know what's relevant. I mean, I guess if you're talking about writing mistakes, Vonnegut's kind of saying, like, I feel like a bit of an idiot when I write. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's saying, like, it makes me feel dumb because I'm sitting there going, oh, I can't think of the right idea or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Again, watch this chapter. Just watch this chapter unfold and have nothing to do with that quote.
So we are going to skip most of it, but so we have got another metaphor. So try not to beat us over the head like a heavy hammer of what you're trying to say. Instead, try a feather, delicate, deliberate, yet inoffensively repetitive. So we've got the return of the feather. So we had the setup and payoff there. Do we think that Smudboy has a tickling fetish?
Yeah, I think he has a tickling fetish. I think he likes to be tickled whilst he's jerking off into a steak, using egg as lube, and then he drinks his own cum and shits it out.
Yeah. So we've got stick to actions, not words. The last thing we want is to be told.
Sorry, again, he told us off for ad hominems, and I've been more ad hominem than I've ever been on this stream. So he's not gonna listen to this. It's fine.
No, of course not. The last thing we want is to be told exactly what the message of the story is when the theme, behaviour, and objects that symbolise it is clear enough for someone to derive the obvious philosophy or moral out of it, especially when it's a useless generic statement found in all stories like the greatest teacher failure is. Thanks, Yoda. Really insightful. Now, I noticed that... So we're finally talking about his movie. So he's talking about this part, right? But we know for a fact that he gets really pissed off about politics elsewhere in that film, right? Or messages coming through elsewhere in the film.
If Riot Fox is still in the chat, you need to bonk Smudboy right now because he referenced the film.
He did reference the film. So it's the last thing we want is to be told exactly what the message of the story is. But earlier, when we were talking about symbolism, he was saying you don't want to leave anything up to interpretation at all. You want your audience to understand what you mean. So I'm confused.
Hang on.
There.
Hasn't this dopey twat earlier in this very book said that you need to be like shit at writing before you can get good, right?
Yes.
So surely the greatest teacher is failure.
Yes, no, I think he sort of agrees with the greatest teacher failure is, but he just wants a reason to shit on a movie he doesn't like for unrelated reasons.
Right. I just, like, for God's sake, like, whatever you think of the film that will not be named, I think it should be fucking banned to talk about it from now on. Like, there is nothing that anyone can say about it that hasn't been said.
Yeah.
At this point, right? Like, it's just fucking... I mean, Star Wars, same. But, like, Star Wars in general, you know. But that film in particular, the one from 2017, who we will not name, is, like, I bet even Rian Johnson's sick of hearing about it by now.
Oh, yeah, because he has obviously gone on and made other projects now. So I'm sure he's
all I'll say about Rian Johnson versus J.J. Abrams, right, is the following. In the same year, so following... the film that will not be named, by a couple of years. In 2019, both J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson released a movie apiece, right? The movie that Abrams released was Rise of Skywalker, the most universally, critically, and commercially panned Star Wars... not commercially, sorry, critically and panned Star Wars film ever released. Like, I think it's got the lowest Rotten Tomatoes rating. I might be wrong about that. But it definitely was pretty conclusively panned by critics, right?
Yeah.
So that's his 2019 release. Rian Johnson's, on the other hand, was Knives Out, which was not only extremely financially successful, but was pretty much unanimously praised by critics and audiences.
Yeah.
So, not that these things are necessarily objective. I'm just kind of saying maybe one is a writer that you might want to pay a bit more attention to, and maybe the other is a fucking hack.
Yeah. But to be fair, they probably also hate J.J. Abrams.
They do, because of Rise of Skywalker. But then one of their points was that, because when the film that will not be named came out, one of their big things was, but it shits all over The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't like The Force Awakens, so
yeah,
what the fuck, you know? And to be fair, I feel a bit bad for calling JJ a hack. He's not that bad. But
I don't really like his movie. To be fair, J.J. Abrams makes competent but kind of boring movies.
Ryan Fox has come in with the bonk. Smudboy has been bonked.
Excellent. He definitely needed it.
I mean, if anyone needs a good bonk, it's Smudboy.
So we've got excessive world building. So I just want to quickly touch on this because we've
Excessive world building.
We've mentioned it a little bit. So world building is essential when 1, used to characterize the big 2, which is again the protagonist and antagonist, or 2, used to explain how and why a setting, character, or piece of lore exists. Outside of that, it's largely irrelevant.
Yep. Okay. Sure. This has got to the point where, you know, like at the end of 1984, where he just accepts Big Brother. This is what's happening now. I've been broken. I'm just like, sure, I don't even want to break that down. But you're right, Smudboy, you're right.
So we've got another colourful metaphor.
You've always
here.
been right. You've always been objectively correct.
We've got a
And I
colourful
love you,
metaphor
Smudboy.
here.
Marry.
We've got characters need surface weights before they can interact deeply and meaningfully with other characters, and those characters also need context. So we've just got a nice little swimming metaphor there.
Yeah, I mean, why not? We've done every other kind of metaphor at this point. We've done the double-spined dinosaur hanging in a fucking museum. It might as well go for a swim.
But
Not before it's had its eggs and steak, or it will get a fucking cramp.
Oh, Bubba Boy, I just want to say, if you do go and look at the reviews of his book on Amazon, they are quite funny. One of them literally just says, "Whack, this is whack." Just wanted to say. So moving on, we've got another bit of interesting Smudboy prose here. Writing should be in equal parts elation, confusion, and soul-wrenching work. If it's not all 3 at once, you might not have the drive to write in the first place.
Sorry, I've just seen Bubble Boy's comment of just going to leave this review on Amazon. What no pussy does to a motherfucker 1 star. Hey, come on. It might not. Let's not be heteronormative. It might be. He might like bumhole. Man's bumhole. Or man's mouth. There's many orifices you can use. But he might not be. I'm pretty sure he's straight. He gives me big straight energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he does often sort of go on weird homophobic things. So,
yeah, in Minecraft allegedly.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing with Smudboy is he's one of those guys who he'll swear he's not homophobic, but then if there's ever gay stuff in a story, like in what's the fucking game with the zombies?
Oh, Last of Us 2.
Yes, in Last of Us 2, he one of his issues is that there's like a graphic. I think a gay sex scene or something like that. There's some fairly graphic LGBT content anyway, and that's an issue for him apparently, just on the face of it. It's not like he's going, oh, I don't want graphic sex scenes in general. It's the fact that it's specifically a gay sex scene that he had an issue with. And it's like, okay, sounds a bit homophobic to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's one of these guys. It's just one of these guys who's like, oh, I don't have an issue with it, but then definitely does have an issue with it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't have an issue with it, as long as they keep it in their own home. Sort of thing.
And then you do have an issue with it. I'm sorry, you just do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person who sees 2 men kissing in the street and has to sharply avert their eyes because of the gay, then you do have an issue with it. You know what I mean? Unless you avert your eyes whenever you see anyone kissing because it makes you uncomfortable. That's a different thing altogether.
Well, we do know that he thinks that stupid is a swear word, so.
Yeah, he is weirdly conservative in that regard, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's quite happy to use the R slur constantly in his stream and stuff, so. Interesting.
Anyway, moving on, I just want to highlight the title of one of his common writing mistakes that he wants to talk about is no seasoning in one's dishes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And again, one thing he does sort of mention later on is...
Sorry, shout out to Bubble Boy. This is literally the writing community meme about the person who talks all the time about writing and romanticizes it, but never actually does it. You're fucking spot on. You've nailed him to the wall. I mean, we talked about that when we read that chapter that started with, writing.
He is very much a writing group thing, yeah. A writing group guy.
I want to shout out Rena or Reiner. A lack of bumhole makes a man weak. So do with that what you will.
Fair enough. Okay, so I just want to mention here that he does have.
Sorry, Neff's taking the piss out of me saying the game with the zombies.
That's true. That is what you said.
Look, I'm, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I don't play games, and also I've been fucking drinking this entire time. I've not been updating you on the beers I've drunk, so I'm just about to open a new bottle.
Oh, what are you opening?
I think I'm going for the Abbott Ale, which I'm pretty sure is one that Smud likes. In fact, I think he's a fan of the Abbott Ale.
Oh, nice.
So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's on it. Okay, so I just want to point out this like very brief point in later on in the chapter. It's so he just says hit your ideal, crank it to 10, which I think is rather yeah. But I think it's rather interesting because like isn't the point crank it to 11? Like isn't that the reference that he's trying to make here? What does crank it to 10 even mean?
Yeah, crank it to 11 because if he's doing a Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah, like, I assumed that's what he was doing. But if crank it to 10, it just means just stay within the rules. Stay within the.
I want to say, in the chat, Rena says it's Reiner like Tina. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough.
He said it's Rena like Tina. I'm just being stupid.
So now I just sort of point out we're in the final chapter now. I think anyway, and the chapter title is Dessert and Digestion.
Oh yeah,
yeah, boy.
I'm imagining this as like, do you know Pizza Hut, the ice cream factory?
Yeah,
that's what we're having now. We're fucking whacking a load of vanilla ice cream on, fucking hundreds and thousands, fucking whatever they have in the fucking ice cream factory. You know that gross ice cream factory where as a kid you just put loads of sweets in it and stuff and Smarties, and then you just feel sick afterwards.
Yes, that is correct.
Because of all the condensed sugar you've just eaten. That's what this is. Neff says I'm living La Vida Lembit, which I definitely am. I'm not explaining that reference. I'm just gonna leave it there. Drunken rowdy behaviour. Come on, baby.
Okay, so we've got quite a good metaphor right here. So, like a Formula One race, all the drivers are pushing their cars to the limit, either full acceleration or full brake.
Yes, full brake. That famous driving position from Formula One. Full brake.
This is if your plot seems drab, throw in a speed bump, then pick up the pace. It's just sort of it's fairly standard writing advice, but the metaphor is just a bit.
Yeah, because the speed bump slows you down.
Yeah.
So if he's saying throw in a speed bump and go full pace.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're called speed bumps, because it slows you down. That's why they exist. That's why they exist, Smudboy.
Okay, so we're on wrapping it up. So we're
metaphors make sense.
We're so close to being finished. So we've got several.
I've been close to being finished this entire time.
we've got several.
I'm done with this guy.
We've got
Who
several.
Even is he?
He's just some Canadian knobhead. We've got some choice metaphors, just one after the other, on the second to last page. So we've got plot is the double-twisted snake skeleton of your story.
Oh, enough with the plot and the double-twisted skulls and the skeletons. What does it mean?
Well, he does give some advice to plan out the vertebrae before you flesh out the creature.
I don't even know what that means anymore.
Okay,
are we cloning beasts in a lab?
So, how about this? World building is dirt. Literally.
That makes so much more sense.
World building is literally dirt, not pejoratively. Use character motivations and modus operandi to plant seeds in your soil.
Okay. But are the seeds going to bear the fruit of double-twisted snake skeletons?
We do hope so.
What is it? I mean, what kind of a fucking cunt do you have to be to write this out? Like, listen to this. Like, just pass that again. Plot is the double-twisted snake skeleton of your story. One for each of the big two. Whatever that means. Plan out the vertebrae before you flesh out the creature. Like, what are we talking about here? What is this? And then world building is literally, not pejoratively. You use character, so he means like Earth, right? He means like plant a fucking seed in the earth.
Yeah.
You use character motivations and modus operandi to plant your seeds in your soil. Like, that's just, okay, fine. But this is the final chapter, Smud, and you're still not talking about anything. You're just talking utter shit. I mean, if you look up the fucking page as well, there's like character is king, plot is queen. What does this mean? What are you gibbering on about, you fool?
Yeah, it's not very clear. Yeah.
Sorry, that was all ad hominem. We're supposed to be doing an analysis. This book is shit. That's my analysis.
Fair enough. Okay, so we've got characters king, plot is queen. So now we're on the final page. Characterization is flavor and seasoning.
Is it? Because I thought the characters were the cutlery, but they're also part of the egg. And
No, you see, the world building is dirt, and the characterization is the seasoning that you put on your dirt.
You're seasoning the dirt, which presumably contains a double-twisted snake skeleton, which was also the double spine of a fucking dinosaur earlier.
Yeah.
So make sense of that.
Yeah. So he doesn't give a metaphor for symbolism, but we know that he thinks it shouldn't be interpretive. For God's sake, stop wasting our time. Get to the point.
Yeah, I agree. Stop wasting my time and get to the point, Spud. Stop wasting my precious time, you bastard.
Keep only the juiciest, tastiest, most digestible parts.
Okay, so we're back to fucking steak again. Genius.
Okay, so we've got I think we've got this is the final point. We've got remember to always make your ideas believable, clear, and easily consumable. Edit, and edit again.
Eat the book. Also, edit and edit and edit again. You fucking should have done this to this piece of shit.
This is my point, is that like we've like gone through this book and it's just so many grammatical errors, so many just like confusing metaphors, so many contradictory bits. It's just like he was going on about how much he loves editing and criticism and, you know, all kinds of shit, and it's just like, well, why aren't you following your own advice? Because that implies that either your advice is shit and just like you realize it's not worth following, or like you just don't follow it, in which case why
you're a fucking hypocrite. That's what it is, mate. Like, there's just nothing. Why are the kings and queens getting seasoning, says Rena. I don't know. They're also covered in dirt, apparently, and they've got two spines and are a dinosaur hanging in a museum, but they're also an egg and a steak. Like, what are we talking about?
Okay, so we've got, and finally,
Here we go, the big finish, the climax.
Only publish when you feel like it. Similar to Rule 2, after you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's, reread, re-edit, and get those multiple second opinions, gone through every check of quality you have. When you've exhausted...
Right, to be clear, Smudboy did not get a second opinion on this. He published it as soon as he'd finished writing the first draft.
This is what I imagine happened, yes. Yeah. So the thing is that none of this applies to this book, right? All of your T's and dotted all of your I's, right? Grammatical errors throughout this book. Like, reread, re-edited, and got those multiple second opinions. If he did...
Oh, God, I forgot the last sentence was about the fucking steakhouse again.
We'll get to that.
Pain. I'm in agony. Somebody come round and shoot me in the head. God.
We'll get to that in a minute. I've gone through every check of quality you have. Again, whatever quality checks he has, they're dog shit because they did not pick up any of the multiple errors.
They're double-spined dinosaur shit. This is fucking bollocks. This whole book is just a waste of... I was going to say a waste of paper, but it's a fucking ebook. It's a waste of fucking bytes of memory. It's a waste of everyone's time, including Smudboy's. Smudboy, you should have had a wank. You should have done literally anything else. You should have gone out and met some people. You should have gone to a bar and tried to have sex with someone. Like, just anything other than this.
So we've got... So what I find particularly interesting is when you've exhausted and repeated your checks, you'll get that feeling in your stomach that this is probably as good as it gets, which is interesting because I cannot imagine anyone finishing this book or this whatever this is and then thinking, oh, that's it, that's great. I've got a feeling in my stomach that this is probably as good as it gets.
Mate, we're the only people who have finished this book. We're the only cunts dopey enough to read this from page one to the end. I believe that.
So we've got, but don't put that story off for another day. Get it out of you, or it will eat away at your stomach lining.
Exercise the demon. Exercise the demon of story.
The best part is this line. Just don't put the story off for another day. Get it out of you, or it will eat away at your stomach lining like a depression symptom.
Okay, but a depression symptom doesn't eat away at your stomach lining.
What the fuck is he talking about with this?
Fair enough, if he'd put, like, it will eat away at you like a depression symptom, maybe. But the fact that he's literally put stomach lining.
Or even just, like, eat away at you like depression, right?
Yeah,
like,
but
that would just...
like, it's not the same as depression in any way. It's a bad metaphor. It's not even
terrible.
A metaphor. It's a simile.
So bad.
It's a simile, and it's a terrible simile. Like, depression eats away at your stomach lining? What does that even mean? It doesn't mean a thing. That sentence means fucking nothing to anyone. Just what the fuck? Joe, just bring it home, Matt. Bring it home with the final sentence. Come on.
So we've got, like the motivation and development of your big two, which again, protagonist and antagonist, you need to tackle writing with a fury and focus like any singular purpose in life to achieve your plot goal. Get it done. At worst, no one will care, but you would have expressed yourself as a writer in exactly the way you wanted and needed to. And now we've got the final line.
If you're not writing for an audience, what does it matter? Because he's saying, like, no one would get, like, if you're writing for, do you know what I mean? Like, none of these rules apply to something that's not being written for an audience.
Well, this is the thing, is like, this is what amused me so much about when Smudboy accused me of being, like, attention starved, is that, like, he's clearly desperate for attention, right? Like, throughout his YouTube career and this book and everything, he craves it, and I think his constant, like, tearing other people down.
This whole book, he talks about notoriety, right? Like, the purpose of writing is your own notoriety.
Yeah, like, that's the point of it, apparently.
Also, shout out to Rena in the chat. He's got depression and IBS confused. Yeah, it's entirely possible.
It's very
I think that Smudboy has verbal IBS, to be honest with you.
True.
So go on. Finish the book.
We're ready for the final line, and everyone, this is to finish the book.
The climax.
To end the Smudboy arc, and we can finally stop...
finale of the Smudboy arc.
We can finally stop talking about this...
We can stop thinking about this cretin of a man.
Yes. So we've got... Just remember, if you open up a steakhouse, I better get a damn fine steak in there.
I mean, that sums up his whole life, right? That sums up his entire mentality. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end. We've reached it. We've done it. Oh.
I mean, we've done it. It's finally over.
Yeah.
You know. Oh god.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the chat thinking about all this? What do the chat make of this? Because I'm obviously deceased. I'm dead. I'm a lump of meat myself. Never mind the steak. What are your final thoughts on this, Matt?
I think it was just incredibly shit. Like, the thing is, I guess it's funny that he's decided, as we've mentioned earlier in previous episodes, it is very funny that he's written all this down because we can now apply this to, like, things that he has said in the past, and we can sort of point out how nonsensical it is and how little sense it makes. But I think probably the biggest takeaway for me is just how bad of a writer Smudboy is.
Mate, can I just interject to say, look at that cover. Even the cover is shit. Like, that's the most boring cover I've ever seen in my life. It should be a picture of a fucking steak, right? Like, I don't know why he's got this circle on the front, because that's got nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
It should be a steak or an egg or something.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I guess it's for someone who really sort of loves to talk about objectively bad art. Or objectively good or bad art. He seems to have written objectively bad art, right?
Well, this is just something else, isn't it? This whole experience, this whole text. I've never read anything by someone who was so sure of their own abilities, but so unable to put these ideas into practice. Like, imagine, there's nothing else like it. It's just, this is beyond.
Yeah.
It's beyond anything.
So
It's a whole new level of garbage.
So the point that
It's
you
like-
did mention about the cover. So I've got the tweet that that's pinned to Smudboy's Twitter that does just say sort of announces the book, and the first comment is, "Not even the cover is creative, lol."
Exactly. Because what is this? God, did he only do this year, April 9th? Okay.
Yeah, it was earlier this year. Yeah.
Okay, I thought this had been out a bit longer. I thought it was maybe 2019. But what this is it's a man whose ego is so bruised by his interactions with people like Patricia Taxon, like Jack Saint, all these people who have ran rings around him in debate. His ego is so bruised by it that he has to write a fucking manifesto explaining why he's a rational big boy.
Yeah.
And everyone else who criticizes him is wrong and or a dickhead.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's done it so badly that now we can just point at him and say, "Oh, okay, so you didn't know what you were talking about in the fucking first place, did you, dickhead?"
No, and yeah, I can't even articulate the words for the contempt I have for this book. Like, it's pathetic. Because the whole thing is driven by his own ego. Like, so I want to just make clear to the chat, like, if this was just a shit book that someone had written, that wouldn't be worth covering. Because, like, you know what? There are shit books out there. Not everyone's a great writer, right? But the fact that this is supposed to be his manifesto on how to objectively write well.
Yeah.
Objectively write well. Just the arrogance of it.
I know, right?
The sheer folly of it is what makes it so hilarious to me. Because the thing is, if Smudboy had just written this just out of the blue, like he was just some random dickhead,
yeah,
fine. But the fact that he has this long history of just being so rude to other people and just being so up himself about this stuff, that, like, it just makes it hilarious to me.
No, of course, yeah. The fact that he reckons that he knows what the best, like the objectively best way to write is, and he's written it down, and he's wrong, and he's talking out of his arsehole, is just like, that just makes it, I think, honestly. It's just...
Yeah, some thoughts from the chat. Celestial Storm, sitcom, sorry, says, "God, finally," presumably in reference to being finished. Pike L says, "This book is cream of mixed metaphor soup," which I think is quite nice. Rena says, "We can finally rest in peace." Neff says, this book is a veritable steakhouse of insanity." Celestial comes in again saying, "He rewrote poetics in modern prose and also made it much, much worse." Yeah. Right, folks, I just stopped thinking altogether at some point. And Neff says, "Thanks for enjoying this for us." Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. There's going to be more CHUD Book Club at some point.
Yeah, we're going to take quite a break, I think.
We're going to take quite a break.
Yeah.
Because this has been a bit intense. Because I think what we might do going forward, I think what we were saying was, when we do like Lord of Patriarchy or Movie Bob's books or whatever, we'll kind of do the format that we've done this episode, where we've got notes. I mean, next time I won't be this drunk or this chaotic. Yeah. But like, we'll kind of do that. We'll take notes, highlight sections we want to bring up, and maybe we'll do like one episode per book rather than go through it chapter.
Or maybe
chapter.
one or two, depending on
depending on how much we have to say about it. Yeah. Because the thing is, I think we were trying to kind of give Smudboy a taste of his own medicine, right?
Yeah, so the point was that it was like, this is what he does to other people's like YouTube videos. So we were like, okay, let's do it to him.
I think that point was entirely lost on him.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's incapable of thinking of himself as having any flaws, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's just one of these people who have such an inflated self-opinion that there's nothing you can do. There's no criticism you can give them that they'll take on board.
Oh, for sure, yeah. He's impervious to criticism because he just thinks that everyone who criticizes him is just some kind of cuck or soy boy or something.
It's just wrong. Like, he just thinks anyone who criticizes him is wrong. And, like, you know, he has that mentality. It's a child's mentality. Even though he's 40 years old.
I think Brother Boy put it best. It's such a shame that Smudboy didn't apply that knowledge of objectively good writing to this book. I think that says it all, really. Yeah.
Rena says, Henchbrain, I think you needed to be drunk to get through this. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that we'd said we would get to the end of this book, I probably would have just jacked it in on the last episode.
Yeah. To be fair, I think the first couple of episodes were quite good to do line by line because like that was like his thesis, I guess, and there's a lot.
The glossary in particular was hilarious.
Yeah, the glossary was the peak, I think. But I think for future we will.
I'm going to try to say it was the peak of English language. It was the pinnacle of writing, I think. This whole book was. No, this book was bad.
This is terrible.
Yeah, and
of course, subjectively, because objectivity in art doesn't exist.
But this isn't art. This is the daubings of a twat. So,
that's art as well, though, isn't it?
I suppose.
Like just because someone's a daft twat doesn't mean that what they create isn't art. This is art. It's just, in my opinion, bad art.
Maybe this is how we can start to measure art objectively. It's like this is the bottom of the scale. Plot focused creative writing. Learn how to give your flawed characters a motive and desire while writing an engaging story. Like that is the bottom of the scale.
Right.
Like, absolute zero in terms of objective quality.
Yeah.
Maybe over the course of CHUD Book Club, we'll figure out the science of objective analysis.
Maybe this will be it. Although
maybe we're the big rational big boys. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Although we will be. I think this is probably like the worst. Actually, no, it's not. I was going to say this is probably like the worst person we're going to cover, but if we're going to cover Movie Bob, he's significantly worse.
Yeah, I'm really interested because I've not read all of Movie Bob's book, but I've read some excerpts. That one's going to be interesting. I don't think that's going to be the next one we do, but it's going to be interesting to talk about because Bob, his book for the uninitiated is about Super Mario Brothers 3, and it's kind of a Let's Play guide, but it's also a bit of an autobiography of Bob at the time.
Yeah.
And it contains some pretty rough stuff in it. Like, there's a bit about his grandmother dying and stuff, and like I think it gets into his relationship with his father, which my understanding is his father was an alcoholic and not the best of dads, right? But yeah, so it's going to be interesting talking around that stuff because it's kind of like I do want to cover it because the book is so fascinating, just as a mental snapshot of Bob. But obviously, there's stuff in that where it's like we'll have to kind of think out how we're going to talk about it. Because there's stuff that I don't necessarily want to be like, you twat. But, because, I mean, to be fair, I think it's a valid criticism to be like, why is that stuff in a Let's Play of Super Mario Brothers 3? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, why have you included that? That's odd. But I don't think, it's tougher than, Movie Bob is tougher than young Stefan here. Because he's kind of, because the thing is, Smudboy's just a twat, right? There's no nuance to it. He's
for sure, yeah.
Whereas, like, with Movie Bob, there's a bit of nuance to it. Because, on one hand, he is a massive twat. But on the other hand, he has been victimized through a lot of his life. So there is kind of like, oh, God, yeah, like, that doesn't excuse him being a twat, of course. But this is why we're going to do Lord of Patriarchy next, right?
Yeah, because I think really...
nice and simple.
I think really the thing is with Movie Bob is we both dislike Movie Bob, so we were considering making a video, right? But also like his book seems quite heavy and not really like for this.
Like, most of the book is just him bollocking on about Super Mario Brothers. Like that is most of the book, but there's some sections where he talks about like his life, which are a bit weird, and I don't know why he included them. Maybe it's something we can get into. I mean, to be fair, I don't think the tone of CHUD Book Club is always going to be this. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not always going to be this derisive, I don't think. I think we're having some fun at Smudboy's expense because that's what he does.
Yeah.
To other people. So this kind of like, well, why should we treat him with respect when he doesn't treat other people with respect?
Yeah.
And I imagine there'd be a similar thing with Lord of Patriarchy as well when we cover his book, which I do think is going to be the next one. So brace yourself for that. I think going forwards, where do you see the show going forwards? We've already said Lord of Patriarchy and Movie Bob. We want to cover them.
I think really we want to keep it sort of quite light. But yeah, we do sort of. It's probably mostly going to be like YouTubers probably that we'll be covering. Probably not like the massive Like, we're not going to cover, like, Donald Trump or anything like that, or like the art of the deal or anything.
I mean, we could read the art of the deal, yeah.
Yeah, but
we're not going to there.
Bubble Boy, he's done several books. But
yeah, like I want to be clear as well. I kind of like Lord of Patriarchy more than Smudboy, because like Lord of Patriarchy at least seems to know he's a dope, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I mean, I'd say Movie Bob is for sure worse than Smudboy, but also
I don't know.
Smudboy
it's
is
so
worse
tough.
Because
the thing is, Movie Bob's content outside of him being a piece of shit is fine for the most part. Like, there's a lot of movie takes he has that I don't agree with, but it's just because they're like bad takes, right? But
well, yeah, I mean, I'm talking like as a person and like the.
Yeah, because to be fair, I don't think Smudboy's ever actually advocated for genocide.
Yeah, I don't think he's a big fan. I mean, he's not mentioned a particular penchant for eugenics in the same way as Movie Bob.
No, whereas like Movie Bob definitely has. You know what I find so funny about that is Bob always being like, bad faith actors have taken a joke out of that I made years ago out of context to use against me.
Yeah.
And like to some degree that is true, but the problem with that is, yes, there's a lot of people who act in bad faith against Bob, but also he can't stop making eugenics references. It's like, fair enough if you'd made that joke 5 years ago or whatever, and people were still bringing it up after you'd apologized.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, he did apologize, but then after his apology, he just keeps saying things like certain people are just naturally stupid and should be bred out of society.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like, it's not so much that the original joke that's the issue, it's the fact you keep saying it. And I don't think you're joking. Because at a certain point, if you keep talking about how certain kinds of people should just be left to die, you are advocating for eugenics. In fact, not even at a certain point. The minute you say that, you're advocating for eugenics, right? Like, God, he's just... Movie Bob's an interesting character. Because... Yeah, but Bubble Boy, whenever he tries to get out of eugenics, they just pull him back in. Yeah. And the thing is, like, Movie Bob's such an interesting character, right? Because did you see all this drama that went down with him and Lindsay Ellis?
I did.
I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't think it's really our remit. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. Kind of showed him as a bit of a creep, really. I think that's fair to say.
I just wanted to point out, people said that does Lord of Patriarchy have a book? I have found it. It is here on Amazon. I'm obviously using like private mode because I want to like dox myself, but it's called Dear God, You Suck.
Yeah, because it's like an atheism book, right?
It's like, this is probably one of the shortest and most damning books against that invisible man in the sky, God. Even though we can't see or hear him, he's in every facet of modern life. It's high time that people take a real look at that. This is the book where basically I take God to task for all the stupidity he's attached to. I also bring up...
one rating of 1 star. Oh dear.
I also bring up the questions that the faithful fear most, like the paradox of paradise, where I prove that heaven will eventually become hell.
At least it's free on Kindle Unlimited. Oh, we're going to have to pay 99 pence for it.
He's actually...
It's cheaper than fucking Smudboy's book, right?
Oh, it looks like he's actually written a few books.
Oh man, yes. We'll have to pick which one we want to cover.
Well, hang on. Kissing and Shiting the Stars, A Look at the Stars Today.
Nice.
What?
I mean, yeah, Rena, that cover does look like it was made in Microsoft Word. But at least it's better than Smudboy's cover.
Oh my god! Is there one called Get Up Off Your Ass, the shortest and only self-help book you'll ever need?
Oh, we need to do that one. Oh, that's the one we need to do. Oh, I want his self-help book.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh, for God's sake. Flamenco, look, I know you're obsessed with me. Look, we're not doxing him. He has this pinned to his Twitter, you dopey twat.
Who is Flamenco?
Oh, just some weird dickhead.
Can we get Flamenco bonked?
Yeah, I just bunked them, yeah. They've got like multiple channels there.
I mean, we're not doxing anyone, we're just reading their books.
Yeah, this is like, Flamenco is not a good faith person by any way, shape, or form. I think they've appeared on the Kill stream a few times, so that's probably like,
okay,
an indication of who they are.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, we should definitely cover this one. Get up off your ass.
Yeah, fair enough.
And like, to be clear, like, I just want to. I mean, I know that anyone left in the chat is not on Flamenco's side here. It's not fucking doxing to read someone's book that they happen to have used their own name on. Because to be clear, Smudboy has promoted his book under the name Smudboy. Like on his Twitter, he's promoted his book, and the front cover of that book has his actual name on it.
And on his YouTube channel, it's like the pinned video, right? Like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Bubble Boy says books they literally have in their pinned tweets. Yeah, like I know some people are protective over their actual names, right? But like, and to be fair, if the book just said plot focus creative writing by Smudboy, we wouldn't have called him anything other than Smudboy, right? And to be fair, we haven't called him anything. I mean, I've called him Stefan a couple of times, but not really. Like,
we think of him as Smudboy. We don't think of him as Stefan. So, like here on his actual YouTube channel, like the main video is like it has the Amazon listing in the thing here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like that is just like plot focus creative writing. So this is not doxing in any way, because we've not gone on about them more than the information they've shared publicly.
Yeah,
and we wouldn't either. Not that needs saying, but we wouldn't. I mean, I choose to be entering. And like, to be fair to Smudboy, I don't think he's ever doxed anyone. Like, he has that kind of consideration for people. So like, it's not an issue. It's not an issue.
Yeah, like we don't like wish harm upon Smudboy. We just think he's a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. So whoever Flamenco is, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, but I think that's all we've got to say, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've covered the book now. We've covered it to hell and back. I think we're going to have a little break. I don't know when the next CHUD book club's going to be. Possibly in the new year, even, because we're going to have Christmas and all that bollocks to deal with for the next couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. Have we got anything to say by way of closing remarks?
I don't know. I think Smudboy, his book is terrible. His advice is terrible.
It's just the worst kind of trash.
It's just the worst book. Smudboy himself...
Well, I mean, Mein Kampf is probably worse.
Well, no, okay. It's the worst...
It's better written.
It's the worst book about writing.
Yeah,
yes.
Much love to you as well, Riot Fox.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, but the ever faithful Riot Fox.
We've got... So Smudboy as a person is sort of a knobhead. This is the thing, like, we don't think Smudboy is necessarily like an awful human being. We just think he's a bit of a dick.
Yeah, he's just a silly cunt, really. He's just not, he's just kind of like, I think we've lost some affection for him because of the Twitter beef, right?
Yeah.
But to be fair, you were riling him up on purpose.
Oh yeah, no. To be fair, it became clear that he was never going to appear on the stream, and I thought, well, since he's the sort of person who will deliberately go out of his way to rile other people up, I'll do it to him, and it works spectacularly well. So
yeah. All right, well, let's call it there. I think my final comments are: Smudboy, as Bubble Boy says, he's a complete fucking idiot. I think that's correct. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for him to be censored or anything, or to be not... I mean, I wish he wouldn't use quite so many slurs on his stream and that, but you know what I mean? He's just a bellend at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, it's not...
There's not really anything more to say than that, and
yeah,
if you feel like that's an ad hominem, then you should check out any one of his streams.
I agree, and I think on that note, that's a good way to end.
Well, I'll just say goodbye to everyone in the chat.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Thanks for listening. Look after yourselves. Christmas is coming, so, wrap up warm and cuddle the people you want to cuddle. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Just I'm broken. I'm a broken man. But thanks for listening to all this rubbish, especially if you've listened to all of them, because that must have been taxing. Yeah, I'm sorry if I've been a drunken lout this time.
I think you needed it, really, to get through all this madness.
This was the catharsis. This was the Satori point. I've grown as a man, and we'll be back whenever, right? Well, we'll be back by the time that we've both read Lord of Patriarchy's little book.
Yes, I agree.
And to be fair as well, Lord of Patriarchy, we could probably goad him into coming onto the stream. Like, we could get him on the stream, I reckon.
No, I agree, yeah, for sure, absolutely.
We'll be nice to him to begin with.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, much love to everyone in the chat. Much love to you, Sheep in the Box /Matt. Doxed you again.
Yeah, that was weird that he thought that I was doxing myself by calling myself Matt. Like, I call myself Matt all the time. Oh,
Is that what he was getting at? I don't know.
yeah, I was saying, if you want to dox someone, you shouldn't put Matt in your Kindle thing. It's like,
oh right, yeah, because it said Matt's Kindle reader. Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I mean, my legal name is Henchbrain666.
That's true. That is true. It says that on your driving license.
And no one can prove different.
Exactly.
Even though I was in the chat under my own name earlier, but don't worry about that.
Okay.
Right. Goodbye, everyone. Look after yourselves. You know, the armchair by the fire will be waiting for you probably in the new year, unless we want to do something. Unless we want to do a Christmas special at some point.
I don't know. Well, if we have time, maybe, but I don't know if we have time to do that, really.
I mean, there have been calls for us to read Dinosaur Erotica on air, so maybe...
Maybe if there's a short Christmas one, maybe we can have a read for that.
Yeah, I think the next one we cover, we won't ramble on as long. Anyway, goodbye, everyone. Much love. Yeah, peace out. A man must have bread. What was the quote? I want to end on the quote.
Oh, hang on. Sort of talk while I bring it up. Hang on.
I'll sing. No, I won't. I'll talk. Everyone, I love you. I'm talking because Matt's taking forever to bring this image up.
There we go. Man cannot live on bread alone, but first he must have bread.
Yes, he must have bread. Go and get some bread. Go on. We're BreadTube now.
Yeah, just go down to the shop, buy a loaf of bread.
All right, end the stream, Matt. End the misery.